Good morning. This is the February 20th, 2024 meeting of the Hudson Valley Regional Board of Review. The hearing is being held via video conference call at the following location: Portland Town Hall, 1 Hetty Street, Portland Manor, New York, 567. The time is now 9:03 a.m. and the hearing is officially open. The members of the board are Megan Smaler to my immediate right, Shaheen Badali to my far right, Jane Slavin to my immediate left, and joining us today remotely is Mark Kavanaugh. My name is Marco Gennarelli. I'm the chairman. From the Department of State, all the way to my far left, we have Erica Krieger and Neil Collier. We will now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. Making comments to the board, please provide descriptive narrative on matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the record. So what that means is if you're referring to a particular drawing or a particular document, when you're speaking to us, please make sure you reference that drawing number, and the document page number. Okay, with that, our first case is petition number 2023-0238. The aggrieved party is J.P. Morgan Chase and Company. The petition pertains to a variance to allow an alteration to hangar E1 occupancy group U utility, construction type 2A, non-combustible, 1 story in height, 38,135 square feet in area, and located at the Westchester County Airport, 73 Tower Road, Town of Harrison, County of Westchester, New York State. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, Building Code of New York State, Section 412.3.6, fire suppression, which states aircraft hangars shall be provided with a fire suppression system designed in accordance with NFPA 409, based on the classification of the hangar given in Table 412.3.6. Petitioner is seeking relief to allow compliance with the 2022 edition of NFPA 409. Okay, is there someone present here in the audience that's going to present the case? Okay, is there somebody joining us remotely that's going to present the case?
That would be me, Your Honor.
Okay.
Good morning.
Name for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Dr. Mark Tumio. My address is 1502 Roberts Drive in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. The zip is 32250. Thank you for the time to present to you today. Our request is very straightforward. It's to allow the use of the most current version of NFPA 409, the standard on aircraft hangars, which is the 2022 version, in lieu of the 2016 version that is the reference standard for the building code and fire code of the state of New York. The reason for the request is based on the recognition that the 2022 edition actually recognizes that aqueous firefighting foam, or AFFF, has serious human health and environmental risks. And it does allow, the new version does allow, the use of a fire risk assessment to demonstrate the effectiveness of and risk reduction of a non-prescriptive fire suppression system design. So the waiver is explicitly allowed in the 2016 code in section 1.3, which allows the use of systems of equivalent or superior effectiveness over prescriptive methods, and section 1.41 that allows the use of new or alternative arrangements as long as the safety is not lowered. AFFF is the type of foam that's currently used in Hangar E1, and it's the major source of perfluorooctanoic acid and perfluorooctanosulfate. These are known as PFAS, or forever chemicals, because they do not break down in the environment and they can accumulate in animals and humans. They've been shown to cause cancer, reproductive issues, thyroid damage, and nervous system effects. Moreover, the systems that use AFFF have been shown by research conducted at the University of Maryland to be thousands of times more likely to discharge accidentally than in response to a fire. It may be helpful to understand a bit of the background of AFFF to understand the risks that we now face with respect to fire system suppression design. AFFF was invented by the Navy after the U.S. Forrestal disaster in 1967, when a fighter jet system malfunctioned on the Forrestal and launched a rocket into the fuel tank of another plane on deck. The resulting fuel pool fire, meaning the fuel spread out and caught fire, triggered explosions that killed 134 sailors. In the aftermath, the Navy developed AFFF as an effective suppression method for hydrocarbon fuel fires, which cannot be extinguished effectively with water only. The NFPA started using and specifying AFFF for hangar protection in the 1980s to avoid damage to planes should a fuel spill occur inside a hangar and catch fire. However, in the past 2 decades, there has not been a reported fire in a hangar from a fuel spill, but there have been over 90 accidental discharges, resulting in over $66 million in loss or damage to aircraft. This reality, the fact that it's more accidentally discharged than used in fire suppression, is why the 2022 version of NFPA 409 has provided a non-prescriptive foam or non-prescriptive fire suppression option to address these specific risks. The non-specific option is to address the given significant risks to human health and the environment, and will allow us to replace the foam system with a different type of system that does not have those risks. In recognition of this, in fact, Senate Bill S5648B, currently being considered in the New York State Legislature, would ban the sale of certain products which intentionally add PFAS, these forever chemicals. And that would be banned after January 1, 2026. While the bill would not ban AAAF, the future of PFAS compounds is questionable. Most notably, the US EPA is poised to list PFOS and PFOA, the 2 most prevalent chemicals in AFFF, as hazardous wastes under CERCLA, which would accrue billions, that's with a B, of liability for cleanup costs associated with past discharges of AFFF to the environment. So given the risks associated with AFFF, the fact that the hazard against which it is most meant to protect is almost non-existent, and the risks to human health, environment, and property that AFFF causes, we respectfully request that the 2022 version of NFPA 409 be allowed as the basis for the redesign of the fire suppression system in Hangar E1 at the Westchester County Airport. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point, we're going to open the questions up for the board members. Ms. Tumio? Okay. All right, so I guess, Mark, you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you. So, Mr. Tumio, if I'm trying to understand your variance request correctly, understanding you want to go to NFPA 409 2022 edition, the question I have is, I thought I also read in your request that you also did not want to include the ignitable liquid drainage floor assembly. Is that correct, or would you include that?
We actually have completed the risk assessment that would be allowed should NFPA 409, the 2022 edition, be allowed. And that risk assessment does evaluate the ignitable liquid floor assembly along with other options.
Correct. And I think you evaluated it out. Is that correct? Because I believe if I read 409 correctly, it said you would go with a sprinkler system with a liquid, ignitable liquid drainage floor assembly.
That is one of the prescriptive options within 409, yes. What the risk assessment shows is that that plan, that specific prescriptive option, is identical in terms of risk and protection to a water system that does not contain that floor assembly system, but does have a drain and tank, which would be the design that we looked at in comparison. The difference is the ignitable liquid floor drainage assembly is only made by one company in the world, and the cost to retrofit a hangar of the size that we have at E1 would be somewhere between $3 to $5 million.
Okay. And then another question I had was that there are currently 2 approved green AFFF agents. I didn't see anything in your study or your risk assessment indicating that you took a look at those. Did you take a look at those?
We did take a look at those. The issue with at the current time with non PFAS or non-fluorinated foams is that they're really not any more effective, and in fact cost a great deal because the proportion that you have to use in the water, the system is set up with tanks, and when an alarm is set off, you have a proportioner that puts in a certain percentage of that foam into the system. That foam affects the viscosity and density of the fluid, so that affects the pressure and flow through the pipes. So for that system, you would have to completely replace every pipe, sprinkler head, and the system within the hangar. The other thing with the non-fluorinated foams, and we've been working with the military a great deal on trying to get foam out of their hangars because they have a lot of them. It's nowhere near as effective even as water. It basically is a water additive, and it doesn't yet coat the fire the way that AFFF did, which is what made it so effective.
All right, thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about you talk about your non-fluorinated foam hand hose lines around the hangar floor. You're going to add 4 of those, I believe.
That's correct.
So I'm assuming those are standpipes, or I just get the term non-fluorinated foam hand hose through me. So can you explain what that is?
Sure. They're small systems. Think of it as, in essence, a fire extinguisher. It sets on the wall. It's about 36 gallons. That then distributes a non-fluorinated foam as a fire extinguisher. It's a little more extra protection in case you have a small fire that has hydrocarbons in it, but it doesn't extinguish. It suppresses so you don't get the heat until you can wash it down the drain.
Okay. And I'm assuming there were some calculations done to prove that those 4 non-fluorinated foam hand hoses would be sufficient to cover a pool fire for this hangar of this size?
Yes, and typically those that's a pretty standard calculation in terms of the area based on, it's really the area of the pool fire, not the area of the hangar. But right. The standard for a group 2 or below 40,000 square feet is 4. You put one basically on each side. That allows you to get to any fire within the radius. So yes, we did those calculations.
All right, which is my follow-up question on with the 4 around the perimeter or within the hangar. How much hose is then on that? And I think you sort of answered it that you would be able to get to all areas of the hangar by any one of the 4.
That's correct.
Okay. The other thing I read in your fire risk assessment is you use the term that they would have a dedicated maintenance employee who would be on standby with a fire extinguisher. anytime that you're doing any hazardous operations.
Correct.
So can you tell me what the company's policies are with regarding that dedicated employee? What my concern is that a dedicated employee, what does that mean to the company?
Well, my understanding, I don't work for the company. I'm an independent contractor. Vertex Companies is the company I work for. That is their policy, to have an individual that is, when they say dedicated, as I understand it, who is only to stand there with fire extinguisher to make sure that should a fire occur, they can suppress it with fire extinguisher. And the risks that they're dealing with there are more from dealing with the oxygen systems or any of the other small maintenance things they do, which would be, in essence, a type C fire extinguisher, not one for hydrocarbons.
Okay. Yeah, right. So, I mean, I know just on a sidebar is that there's during hot work, there's requirements for dedicated employees, but, in reality, we've seen multiple times that dedicated employee is also the runner or, doing something else for the guy that's performing the hot work activity.
Yeah.
So just make sure we'll be clear on the dedication of that employee, just that their sole function would be to be the fire watch on this.
And that is completely my understanding.
The other thing, can you help me understand, or you can talk about, in your fire risk assessment, I think you said you were doing a sprinkler design of 0.16 over the 20,385 square feet.
Mhm.
And NFPA 409 was calling out for 0.17. So you talk a little bit about how you came up with the differences in densities?
Sure. We have a designer that does all those calculations. And the part of the problem is that the pump system that feeds that sprinkler system, so that's the county's fire pump, cannot produce the 0.17 at the density we needed to be able to flush. So we back calculated where we could get and still flush a hydrocarbon fire into the trench. And that's how we came up with that. And it's zoned. So to make sure that we can cover it, the current system that's in the hangar is what's called a deluge system. So when it trips, they all go off. The new design would be a zoned system that would only trip the zone and have enough flow to also trip the one next to it should it be a little more expansive fire. So the numbers have to do with the available water supply.
Okay, thank you, because you segued nicely into the next question I have is on what's going to trip the deluge system, and then how is it interconnected with the adjacent one, since I'm assuming it's a quad setup, and
Sure.
How do you determine if it's going to be the in quadrant 1 versus 2 or 2 versus 3? So can you help me understand that?
Sure. The system that we're proposing is not a deluge system. So what a deluge system is when a fire alarm is tripped. So usually either a manual pull or by a flame detector, which will usually use 2 of them so you don't set it off accidentally. That's why these systems tend to go off more accidentally. The system itself is empty. And when the alarm trips, the pipes are then filled with the water and foam concentrate. And all sprinklers are open, so everything comes out. That's what a deluge system is. The one we're proposing is what you may be more familiar with, like they have there in the building you may be in, is called a closed head system. And in that system, the sprinkler heads have a fuse in them, usually a glass bulb, that when it reaches a certain temperature, the bulb breaks and that sprinkler head opens. So the system is self-regulating in terms that it only opens sprinklers where there's heat from the fire. So if a fire goes off, once any one sprinkler opens, then that flow starts. If the heat continues and trips the next one, whether it's in the next zone or the same zone, then that sprinkler head would also open.
So you're proposing a standard sprinkler head, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
A standard sprinkler system design. Okay.
Right. And I believe, I'd have to double check the design details. I think that, you can get these that they trip more quickly with heat. Those are called ESFR, early suppression fast response, or standard response. They trip at different temperatures. That's a specific design detail that I'd have to talk to the design engineer on that to be sure of.
Okay, and then, thank you. And my last question is, was there any third-party independent review of your fire risk assessment as outlined in 409, section 4.2.6?
Yes, there was.
Okay. I didn't see, did the engineer stamp, is he independent?
No, the stamp on the report itself is the engineer that oversaw my work, because I'm a licensed engineer, but not in New York. So we had a licensed PE oversee it. My understanding, I did not handle the third-party review. That was handled by Hines and their individuals. They sent me the comments. I respond to those comments. I do not know where the reviewer's letter is because I was not involved in that loop. I just responded to the third-party reviewer's comments.
Okay, so it was not in our package, if I understand you correctly.
That's very well possible.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay,
I have nothing further. Mark did a very good job.
yeah, he did do a very good job. Very good, Mark.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So you're good, Jane. Shaheen?
Yeah, I don't think I had anything to add.
Okay. Megan?
Yeah, I have just a few things. So I just want to confirm that in a document that we received that is titled 1.0 Executive Summary, in the bottom of the third paragraph where it says Vertex recommends a zoned water only deluge system with the following additional fire protections. It's not a deluge system.
That is correct. It's not a deluge system. That was an error in my summary. I apologize.
Okay. Right. I had a question about what prompted the replacement of this system to begin with.
Mainly, the company that owns the hangar is very concerned about the potential accidental release of PFAS, because that's what their system is, and the liability that would accrue, the damage to planes that it does, and the risk to human health. So most hangars across the country, I've probably done at least half a dozen of these in Florida, some in Alaska. I'm licensed in both of those states. We're doing some in Texas. We've done one in Nevada, and we've done several in California, where these hangars are trying to move away from AFFF foams because of the damage.
Okay. So it's just a voluntary change of system.
Yes, it's a risk reduction technique.
And could you explain what might cause the accidental discharge?
Yeah, there's actually several reasons. Most of them are mechanical, because these systems tend to be, unlike a closed head system that's based on the existence of a fire, they're tripped by either detectors or mechanical systems, either a hand pull system or some kind of electronic detector that's looking for something that looks like flame. And those often malfunction. We've had a couple of these accidental releases from a lightning strike that actually tripped the electronics and set it off. We've actually had one that was a disgruntled employee that pulled the alarm, which you can't really protect against that. One of the more interesting ones we had recently at a military base was they had flame detectors, and those look for a certain wavelength of radiant heat. And they opened the hangar doors and were having a cookout right outside the hangar doors, and the flame detector saw it and tripped the system. So there's several things that can happen, but it's typically mechanical failures or bad detections of some sort.
Okay. My last question, is, should there be a, fuel spill and, it catch on fire, the existing foam system extinguishes that fire, as I understand it. But here we don't have the ignitable liquid floor drainage system. We only have a floor drain and we have a standard sprinkler system. The intention now is this system, I'm asking a question, does this system suppress, this proposed system suppress that fire and protect the building and contents, or is it just for life safety for folks to be able to egress?
The system operates almost exactly like the ignitable floor drain system. That system also does not extinguish the fire. What happens is when you spray water onto a hydrocarbon fire, the hydrocarbons float, and so the fire continues. What the ignitable floor drainage system does, as well as ours, is you flush it into a closed container, and then it can no longer burn. So both systems do that. So it does extinguish it, but basically it extinguishes it by moving to a place where you have no more air to feed the fire.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ms. Tomio, when Mark was asking the questions, you referenced he asked and you referenced a third party.
That's correct.
That was that part of our package. Would you be able to forward that to Talia?
I don't have the official final report because Hines actually did the third-party review. I have my comments that I responded to by revising the report. I'm looking to see who's online. Maybe Mr. Landry would have that.
Can get it to us, just have them forwarded to Mr. Collier.
Okay, I will do so.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions. And I'm looking at your report, and on page 5, it mentions that the hangar is used for storage and maintenance of transient aircraft, and then it states the aircraft are not defueled as defined in NFPA 409.
Mm-hmm.
3.5. So what does that mean? I mean, that these aircraft are possibly in hangars without being totally defueled?
That's correct. The fueled in NFPA 409 has a very specific meaning. You either have to have never fueled the plane, so it has to be in essence new, or you have to have drained the plane to the point at which there is no drippage in essence, so that there's, there may be some fuel, but it's just not going to come out on its own. That's the official definition of defueled. The vast majority of hangars that are run by FBOs or fixed base operators bring the planes land and then they're brought in. If there is any defueling, they do remove fuel outside, but they may not do it to the level that meets the defueled definition of NFPA 5049. So the question becomes one of the FBO takes the planes in and they always fly in almost empty because the code requires, the aviation code requires a very certain amount of excess fuel. And since fuel is the most expensive part of the flight, they always bring it back as empty as legally possible, which means there's usually less than 5% of any fuel capacity left. But that's not officially defueled by 409.
Okay, but that's up to the FBO to make the determination.
Well, my understanding is most FBOs don't, they're just taking in the planes that come. So they don't measure the fuel that is in there. So there may be up to 20% of the capacity. And in the risk assessments, I did the calculations based on the maximum 20%, which is the maximum amount you could have left over.
The water supply, so where does that come from?
There is a loop around the airport that is from the county, and there's a fire pump that's maintained by the airport to supply the pressure and flow in the pipes.
And that's for the entire airport, not just
That's correct.
pressure systems, right?
That's correct.
And being that the fire suppression system in the hangar now is a foam system,
Mhm.
change this to a water system.
Mhm.
Is there a fire department connection, or are you going to be installing
Oh,
one?
yes. Yeah, there's an FTC on the outside.
And my last question is, you had mentioned these, I use the right terminology here. The addition of the four hand hose lines to be
Mhm.
installed around the hangar. And you mentioned that the tanks were about 36 gallons.
Yeah, that's how much foam is in there.
Oh, okay. No, but I'm saying the ones, so maybe I misunderstood. Are you going to be using those with water now, or?
No, there would be non-fluorinated foam in them, much like a small fire extinguisher, but you pump water into the foam. There's a regulator in essence that produces the correct concentration of foam in the water.
Oh, okay.
So you have a little storage tank, and then you have water coming that, in essence, sucks some of the foam in at a given rate.
I misunderstood that in presentation.
I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. I think that's all I had. Thank you. At this point,
Mr. Chairman, a quick question.
again,
I did not see any letter from the local municipality on their concurrence with this request. Is there anybody from the town or village that can speak if they're in favor of or opposed to this?
well, in this instance, it would be the county, but Neil, do we have anything? Oh, okay, so we have, Mark, we actually have somebody here, and I was just about to open up the floor.
All right, thank you, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so at this point, we're going to take any comments, whether it's support or opposition to the petition. So we'll start with the people who are here live in person first, and then we'll move over to anybody who's joining us remotely. So is there anyone here in the live audience who would like to speak regarding this petition? Got to come up and get near the microphone and state your name and.
Good morning. David Barbuti, architect, Director of Code Enforcement for Westchester County. So the county is in favor of removing PFAS. The issues that we had were the ignitable floor system, the 412 code section that basically says if you're doing maintenance, you need foam in the hangar. So we're in favor of it. I just said, it's beyond me to make that determination based on the criteria I saw in NFPA and the state code.
Yeah, just a quick question though. I know there's numerous hangars at the airport.
Right.
So, I mean, do you know how many other hangars, I mean, do they all have the foam system or?
So as far as I know, there was one hangar that had foam removed about 10 years ago, prior to me joining the county. I have the airport looking for documentation on that. They've been unsuccessful at this point. But I do know that there are other hangars that are looking to remove the PFAS.
That it?
That's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, is anyone else here in a live audience who would like to make comments regarding this petition? Okay, hearing anybody? Is there anyone joining us remotely who would like to make a comment regarding this petition? Okay, not hearing anybody. Any other questions here? All right, so not hearing anything at this point, we are going to go into deliberations. And so Maggie, we're going to go off the record. Okay, we're back on. Megan, do you have a motion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the petition of J.P. Morgan Chase and Company, petition number 2023-0238, the petition pertains to a variance to allow an alteration to hangar E1 occupancy group U utility, construction type 2A, non-combustible, 1 story in height, 38,135 square feet in area, and located at the Westchester County Airport, 73 Tower Road, Town of Harrison, County of Westchester, New York State. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the Building Code of New York State, Section 412.3.6, fire suppression, which states, aircraft hangars shall be provided with a fire suppression system designed in accordance with NFPA 409 based on the classification for the hangar given in Table 412.3.6. The petitioner is seeking relief to allow compliance with the 2022 edition of NFPA 409. The board makes the following findings. 1. Subject petition pertains to the removal of an aqueous film forming foam AFFF fire suppression system and the installation of a water-only zoned closed-head sprinkler system augmented with 4 hand hose stations with non-fluoridated foam without an ignitable liquid drainage floor assembly, ILDFA. 2. Applicant requests relief to comply with the 2022 edition of the reference standard NFPA 409, which will be incorporated in the next code update in New York State. 3. Applicant proposes as an alternative the fire risk-based approach in accordance with sections 4.1.3 and 4.2 of NFPA 409-2022, as described in the summary justification for variance and fire risk assessment submitted with the application. 4. Applicant states that removal of AFFF systems is warranted because of their significant environmental, human health, and economic impacts, and notes the low probability of a pool fire in a Group 2 hangar, and the likelihood and severe consequences of an AFFF accidental discharge. 5. Applicant submitted risk and cost comparisons justifying the use of the alternative fire protection water-only design versus the prescriptive option with an ignitable liquid drainage floor assembly. 6. The local code official has been contacted in this matter and does not object to the granting of a variance under Part 1205. 7. That the Board of Review find and determine that the issuance of a variance in petition 2023-0238 not have a significant environmental impact and will not have a significant adverse effect on any significant fish or wildlife habitat, scenic resource of statewide significance, important agricultural land or area included in an approved local waterfront revitalization program. And 8, that the Department of State be authorized to sign and deliver on behalf of the Board of Review and the Department of State the State Environmental Quality Review Act short environmental assessment form indicating that no or small impact may occur in response to each question in Part 2 of the form, and determining in Part 3 of the form that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. In accordance with the above findings, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden, would inhibit achievement of some other important public policy, would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which ensure the achievement of the code's intended objective, or in light of alternative which, without loss in the level of safety, achieve the code's intended objective more efficiently, effectively, or economically. And granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the above noted sections be granted with the following conditions. 1, that a water-only zoned closed-head sprinkler system augmented with 4 hand hose stations with non-fluoridated foam as described in the fire risk assessment shall be installed in accordance with NFPA 409-2022, sections 4.1.3 and 4.2. 2, that the third-party independent review prepared by a fire protection engineer is submitted to the Department of State to be included in the record. And 3, that any further comments from the third-party report be addressed to their satisfaction. The decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition. It should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the variance. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Jane Slavin.
Jane Slavin seconds it. Before we vote individually, Mr. Tomio, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll vote now. Shaheen?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Okay, so the variance has been granted. Thank you. All right, Maggie, we're gonna go off the record for a few minutes and we'll be back before we take the next case. Maggie, we're gonna go back on.
We're back on the record.
So,
Okay, the next case pertaining to petition number 2024-0072. The aggrieved party is Caramore Center for Music and the Arts. The petition pertains to a variance to allow construction of a pavilion for concerts and banquets, occupancy groups A1 and A2, assembly, construction type 2B, non-combustible, 1-story in height, 5,785 square feet in area, and located at 149 Girdle Ridge Road, Town of Bedford, County of Westchester, New York State. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, Building Code of New York State, Section 903.2.1.2, Group A2, which states an automatic sprinkler system shall be provided throughout stories containing Group A2 occupancies and throughout all stories from the Group A2 occupancies to and including the levels of exit discharge serving that occupancy where one of the following conditions exists. 1, fire area exceeds 5,000 square feet. 2, fire area has an occupant load of 100 or more. Petitioner is seeking relief to allow an A2 assembly occupancy without sprinklers. Okay, is there anyone here in person who is going to present the case?
Thank you.
If you're going to speak, give your name.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is P. Daniel Hollis. I'm a partner in the law firm of Hollis, Laidlaw and Simon, 55 Smith Avenue, Mount Kisco, New York, attorneys for the Caramore Center for Music and the Arts, which, by the way, is a 501c3 organization that owns the 81 acre campus at the address reference. With me to my left is William Cordiano, who's a board member, a member of the executive committee, and chairman of the building committee, who will discuss with you a certain aspect of our presentation, which I'll turn over to Christopher Cowan, who's on remotely, Mr. Chairman. He's the project architect with Binder, Buyer, Blinder, and Bell, project architects. That's hard to say too, those three Bs. But I think what we really want to do is to take the lead from you, because we're fully prepared to go through in great detail the record that will present and demonstrate by the weight of the evidence that strict compliance with the reliefs for the code provision seeking to be variance from would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden. And Mr. Cordiano will speak to that as a member of the board. And our experts that are all here, either virtually or in person, will be able to demonstrate that it would be unnecessary to have strict compliance in light of the alternatives presented, and that safety, there'll be no diminution in safety as a result of this proposed plan, and that the things sought to be achieved by the code provision can be handled efficiently, effectively, and economically as demonstrated in our plan. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Cowan. If you would like us to go make a full presentation or just have your board ask questions of our team, whichever way you're comfortable.
Well, we all received the package, okay, with all the information in it. But I think for the record, if you could just give us a brief, overview of the project and the obviously particulars involved. And I noticed that, like you stated, you are citing economic burden and alternatives as the basis for your application. If you could just briefly touch upon those two items.
Sure. I think Mr. Cordiano can discuss the economics, and then Mr. Cowan will go to the alternatives if that's acceptable.
Right, but just give us a brief overview of the project also before you get into it.
All right, Mr. Cowan can take that.
Okay.
Yes, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, sure. Just state your name again for the record.
Yes, Chris Cowan. I am a principal at Buyer, Blinder, Bell Architects. We're at 120 Broadway, New York, New York. We're the architects for the project.
Proceed.
Okay, if it would be okay, I'd like to share my screen just to bring up a couple of drawings. Okay.
Hold on one second. Neil, excuse me. He wants to share a screen, so is that going to pop up here? Yep. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm pressing share. You should see my screen now. Yes?
We got it.
Great. Okay, so I wanted to clarify something when you read the summary initially for this project. The building that you see on the screen, the structure, it's a heavy timber structure type 4. I think it was read out that it was 2B, type 2B, but the structure we're referring to today is this structure, which is type 4. And just for a little bit of context, we had a photograph here showing an aerial view of Caramore. They do erect a tent temporarily on the site of this proposed new structure, which is here, for 6 months, a year approximately, as a temporary structure. So they like to make it permanent. So that was drawings G00, that 0 that we were just looking at. So I'm going to go to a plan view of this building. That is on A-100. So the heavy timber structure is this one here. And the S2U structure is a storage prefab building that is here. And we don't have to sprinkler the storage building, but as was stated, for any A2 use over 100 occupants, there is a requirement to sprinkler that. But we want to demonstrate that we believe it's a very safe building. In any case, it's open on all sides. And what I'm going to do is share a view of this, which gives you a better understanding. Rendering view. So this is the structure that we're talking about here. And the storage building is in that dark green beyond. This is an interior view. And just for informational purposes, the design of this structure is following the band shell at Carramore, which has a similar heavy timber frame construction that you see in this photo here for reference. And that is nearby. I can bring these back up again if you'd like, or send them later if you like as well. So essentially, the building is open on all sides, except during very minor periods. And I say that because the A2 use is only really planned for up to 8 times a year. And the building is open, similar to the temporary tent. It's only open during the late spring, summer, and early fall. It's not used in the winter period. So during those 8 times that it's used for A2 use, up to, it could be less. When there's inclement weather, we have a system proposed to roll down flaps. And this is a blow up section through the structure. And we have these essentially shades. They're roll down flaps that are translucent, Class A rated, by the way. And they would be brought down when there's a rain event or something along those lines when needed, which would not be very often. If we're only having it 8 times a year, the odds of it being rainy or inclement, it would be very limited when those flaps would be taken down. I just wanted to show you as well, this is the site plan, which is the A001 drawing here. And they do have what they call the Venetian Theater, which is nearby here, which is also a tent structure that's up about 6 months a year as well, similar to the one they have on this site. This is our site here. So the other events that could happen in, or will happen in the what we call the pavilion here are A3 events, which would be seating arrangements for a small lecture or performance, that type of thing, where you'd have a performance zone on the floor and then seating laid out like that. These are just examples. And the total maximum occupant load for those types of events would be 299 persons, which would not require sprinklerization. In addition, we have 5 exits shown when the flaps are down. Obviously, when the flaps are not down, people can leave through any of these openings on all sides. When the flaps are down, these 5 openings are available, and 6 foot wide, this one's 7 foot, and they actually provide 5 times the occupant load that we would have in here in terms of their capacity by calculation of exit width. The A2 scenarios would be similar to this sort of arrangement, tables of 8 arranged around a performance zone with a dance floor, as you'd see in many wedding barn type scenarios that you see in New York State. So I think that's kind of the summary of it. I would like to turn it over to Bill Cordiano, and I believe Matt from Andron, their construction manager, may be there to kind of describe the economic hardship, which is paramount, to our case here. And after that, we'd like to kind of just briefly explain an egress study report that we did for this structure, just showing, how quickly people can leave. In fact, they can leave probably before, or definitely before, fire alarm, our fire sprinkler system would go off. And we can walk through that after the economic burden is described. So I turn it back over to Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Chairman, I can give you a little bit of background about Caramore. As Chris said, we operate on an 81-acre campus. We have a number of venues, several of which are outdoor. And one of the reasons for putting this pavilion up is that, for instance, last summer, I think 7 out of our 11 events on Friends Field had to be moved under cover because of potential rain. These are events that occurred, in the late spring, summer. Not that it did rain, but just a threat of rain basically said we needed to move them indoors, and the only option we had at that point really was moving them into the Venetian Theater, which seats about 1,500 people. So you take an event that may have 100 or 150, maybe 200 people, and you move it into an enormous theater, and it's not the most conducive to listening to music. But what we are doing here is replacing a tent, which was the Rosen's original tennis court. And there's another pavilion next to it we call the Italian Pavilion, which is an open-sided structure, which was the cover for their tennis court. The tent that was there goes up and down each year. It is not the most attractive of facilities. It needed to be replaced. The floor needed to be replaced. And when we were looking at the whole option here, the pavilion made a lot of sense, both for permanence and for ease of use. The cost of the pavilion is about $2.6 million, the construction cost. The cost of adding a sprinkler system to this is about $800,000. So it's about 30+%, an additional 30+% of the cost of the pavilion. And as Chris mentioned, the intent here is for this to be an open-sided building. Flaps will only be used during extreme or inclement weather. Caramore, no one comes to Caramore in the summertime to be indoors. We have one true indoor venue. It's our music room. We use it in the spring, we use it in the fall, but during the summer, the preponderance of events at Caramore are outdoors, many of them not undercover. We have a sunken garden. We have our Friends Field events where you saw the band shell. We have our Spanish Courtyard, which is in the middle of the Rosen House. We have the East Lawn. You have a number of places that if we have bad weather or bad weather is potentially predicted, that we have to move those events. And moving them into the pavilion just makes a lot of sense for us. In addition, we have new school programs that we've set up during the spring and fall. In effect, the pavilion will become classroom for those school events. And those schools are located all around both northern parts of New York City and Westchester County. So as a practical situation for us, the events that would be A2 use at Caramore, either weddings, last fall we hosted the Northern Westchester Hospital Gala. They put up a huge tent on our field. They used the Venetian Theater, but they would also potentially use some portions of the new pavilion. Weddings, hospital gala, and banquets are for Caramore also a way for us to raise some funds, because only about 20 to 25% of our revenue comes from ticket sales or other earned revenue. The rest of it comes from either draws our endowment or the preponderance of it are annual contributions. Those are in excess of $4 million a year. So we have about an $8 million annual budget, and putting sprinklers into a building like this at $800,000 is not only an economic burden, but basically it says 20% of our any 1 year's contributions would go to adding a sprinkler system in a building which we think is unnecessary and unwarranted.
If you like, Mr. Winter could speak as to how he gets to the 800,000, or Necessary or unnecessary?
I don't think so. It's sufficient. So I would like to get back over to Mr. Cowan, get him to explain in particular the alternatives that are being provided. Not meeting code.
Thank you.
Mr. Cowan?
Yes, hi. Actually, I would like Carl Keogh, who's on the line. He created the egress study report that was included in the packet that we sent to you guys. And he can kind of describe the analysis that he did, just showing how quickly people will be able to get out of this structure relative to the time it would take for a sprinkler system to engage.
Hi everyone, this is Carl Keogh here. I'm one of the engineers on the project. I mean, do you want me to share my screen, Chris, and just kind of quickly page through the analysis so the board can get an overview of the work that was done?
Yes, you would like me to bring?
No, I can do it.
You can, yeah, go ahead, sure.
Okay, all right. Share screen. Screen share. Okay, just 1 second. Is everybody seeing the front page of the report that I produced on the screen?
No.
No?
We're still sharing?
No, I'm not sharing.
But
if you like, I could bring it up if need be.
Let's try again. Share screen to share.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. Okay then. So yeah, just as I said, my name's Carl Keogh from a company called Holmes Keogh Associates, and we produced this document, which was part of the submission package, which was a life safety analysis report, which was calculating or demonstrating that the provision of a dry pipe sprinkler system in the context of this project didn't provide any additional life safety benefit to the occupants of the pavilion structure, because in fact everybody is out of the structure prior to the sprinkler system activated. And this report kind of details how that conclusion was arrived at. So I'll just kind of page through it pretty quickly, and I'm sorry it's obviously small on the screen, but I will kind of zoom into the relevant sections as we go. Chapter 1 is just...
We have, Mr. Keogh, we have a copy of the report in front of us also.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, I'll talk pages then. So page 3 is just a general introduction to the project, which obviously Chris has already given you. Page 4 goes through some of the general code requirements relative to the project, and that table on table 2 on that page highlights, you know, for an A2 use, sprinklers are required if you exceed 5,000 square feet or 100 people. And on page 5, that kind of outlines the variance request. We will exceed the maximum 100 person limit for the A2 use up to a maximum of 299, and we marginally exceed the 5,000 square foot limit for the pavilion itself. I think we were in the table. It's
5,700.
Yeah, 5,700, 700 square feet over. So basically, section 1.4 on page 5 kind of outlines what the goal of this analysis was. So it was to demonstrate that occupants of the pavilion structure would be able to evacuate prior to the activation of any sprinklers, if we had any, and thereby showing that the presence of sprinklers within the pavilion provides no additional life safety benefit to the occupants of the pavilion. Now, that's not to say that having sprinklers doesn't provide other benefits, not to the occupants, because they're all standing outside, and we can get onto that piece as well. So the way in which we did this was by calculating 2 things. Firstly was, how long does it, once a fire has started within the pavilion, were a fire to start, how long does it take everybody to get out of the pavilion? And then we compare that to, if a fire started in the pavilion, how long does it take the sprinkler system to go off? So that's basically what the report is. So on page 6, this kind of gives you an overview of the components that comprise the overall duration taken for people to exit the pavilion. So that calculation is made up of a number of steps. So firstly, I mean, how long does it take the fire alarm system in the pavilion to detect there's a fire? Now, obviously, it's a single space, so most people within the pavilion will tend to see it before a smoke detector or a smoke detection device has detected the fire. But it could be dark, there could be music playing and so on and so forth. So there may be instances when people don't see it, and therefore we have a VESDA smoke detection system, which one of the team can elaborate on if need be. But we have this advanced smoke detection system which will detect a fire. Once the fire is detected, the alarm obviously sounds, and at that point, people then have to decide that they're going to leave the pavilion. Sometimes, you know, there may be a delay if people don't see a fire immediately, but hear an alarm, there may be a delay in various other things. So there's all data to do with that. And then the final piece is, well, now you've decided I'm actually going to get out of here. How long does it take you to travel from the point at which you're located in the pavilion to the nearest exit, which in this case is those gaps in the rain flaps around the perimeter, which Chris mentioned. And then once you get to that point, how long does it take you to flow through that opening? So that's basically the analysis. And you can see there's the equation at the bottom made up of all those various components. So then the report goes through each component, calculating a time for each of those components. So the first component on page 7 is how do you detect the time it takes a VESDA smoke detection system to detect that a fire might be occurring within a structure. And there's a series of calculations that you can use, and these are excerpts from a spreadsheet which is used by the US Nuclear Regulatory Commission that can calculate these things. So you can see on page 9 here, we get a duration of 32 seconds for that time step. We then, you know, the time from the fire being detected to the alarm sounded, well, that's almost instant because obviously it's an electronic signal. In some instances, there could be a delay in that. For instance, in some buildings, they may have an investigation period where security go off and, you know, see if it's a real fire before the alarm sounds. We don't have that condition, which is why that time step exists, but it's 0 in our case. Then we have the time step related to once you hear the alarm saying, and we have a voice alarm system, so the voice alarm system will be saying there's an incident within the building, please leave by your nearest available exit. Each of the 5 gaps in the rain flaps, which are our exits in effect, they've got no doors to them, they're just gaps, has an exit sign above them. So people hear this evacuation voice signal, they obviously look around, they see the illuminated exit sign, and they start to move towards it. There's data to show that people don't always necessarily move immediately, you know, especially if, you know, they're eating their dinner and they've only half finished it or whatever the case is. So there is some data related to that, and we've calculated that time step to be 34 seconds. And again, you can kind of read through this at your leisure. Then obviously, once people have decided to move within the structure, it's, well, okay, the time taken for you to evacuate is now, depending on where you're standing, is the time taken to walk to your nearest exit and then pass through that exit. So on page 11, section 2.5 kind of calculates that. So it looks at how fast people walk, dependent upon the density of occupants within the space. Obviously, if you're in a crowd, you walk slower than if you're just, you know, you have free flowing movement down a sidewalk, for instance. So there's a whole calculation related to that. And if you can see on page 12, there's a kind of diagram. This is similar to the one that Chris showed in the architectural set. So this is a diagram of the pavilion with the 5 exits around the perimeter, 1 to the north, 2 to the east, 1 to the south, and 1 to the west there. And a worst case location, so to speak, is when you're in the middle of the structure and you're at the most remote location from an exit, which we've calculated to be about 47 feet, which is the distance indicated in red there. Anywhere else within the pavilion, and you're closer to an exit than this. And again, I mean, you can see the lines have been drawn like this to take account of things like tables, chairs, wherever the case may be. We haven't assumed that you're standing in the pavilion, you can just walk in a direct straight line to an exit, which is unlikely unless it's in its open plan configuration, in any case. So you've traveled from this center point, this remote point in the center of the structure. We know how far you've traveled. We know how fast you've traveled. So obviously we can work out how long that takes you. Then you obviously reach one of these gaps in the rain flaps. We had 300 people within the structure. We've got 5 flaps, so we've assumed everybody splits equally between them, which is 60 people to each 5-foot gap. I think it's actually 6 feet. 6 feet each gap and 60 people at them. So there's a time taken to also flow through that gap because a small queue of people, occurs around that, which is 61 seconds, just over 1 minute. And that's this piece here. And we then add in some safety factors, obviously. So anything where you are traveling, we assume, or detected, we've assumed there's a 50% safety factor on those. So we get to an overall evacuation time for the structure for 2 minutes 55 seconds, call it 3 minutes. So that's the point at which the fire first starts to the last person exiting the structure. After 3 minutes, the structure is now empty. So that's the first portion of the calculation. Second portion is, well, how long does it take the sprinkler system to go off? Now, as we mentioned before, because it's an exterior environment, were a sprinkler system to be provided, would have to be a dry pipe system. Otherwise, the water in the pipes would freeze, obviously, during the colder weather. So a dry pipe system is, as it says, it's a dry pipe. If a fire occurs, one of the bulb breaks, and the water, which is held back in a heated part of the system, is allowed to flow into the pipes before it actually flows out the sprinkler head. So NFPA 13, which is the sprinkler code, says that the maximum time between the fire being detected and water flowing out the sprinkler heads is 1 minute. So any activation time, you have to add this 1 minute to take account of the fact that you need to fill the system. So again, similar to the smoke detection, there's a set of calculations that can be done, which I've done in a spreadsheet, which is in the report, which basically say for the type of sprinkler that you have, it has what's called an RTI, which is a response time index. So that's how quickly it activates at a certain temperature. And you can calculate how fast the sprinkler system would activate. So our sprinkler system would activate at 294 seconds, which is just nearly 5 minutes, bearing in mind that it's an open environment and so on. So this is going to, and we have a relatively high ceiling within the structure. We add to that the fact that it's going to take another minute for the sprinkler system to fill with water. So water will discharge out of the heads just under 6 minutes from detection of a fire. So if we now compare that, and then basically on page 17, we have our conclusion here, which is from the point of fire ignition, this top piece here, from the point of fire ignition to the sprinkler system operating is just short of 6 minutes. However, we're comparing that to an evacuation of the structure at just under 3 minutes, even with some factors of safety included. So we can see we've got a decent margin of safety between what we've estimated it would take to get out of the pavilion versus the time it would take to activate the sprinkler system, and it's a discharge water onto any fire. And then the final bit on this section 4.1 on page 17, just states, well, obviously we've demonstrated that the provision of the sprinkler system doesn't provide any additional benefit to the occupants of the pavilion because they're all out of it by the time it activates. However, the fire department are on their way, at this point, and they will not have reached the pavilion within 6 minutes. So were a fire to occur, the sprinklers would activate, everybody's out, but the fire department haven't yet arrived. So obviously having, a sprinkler system within a building is advantageous from a firefighting perspective. However, even though we exceeded the 5,000 square feet relative to the occupancy type, we are still well within the maximum permitted building area for a heavy timber structure without sprinklers per the Chapter 5 provisions. So in fact, you would be allowed a heavy timber structure with those occupancy groups of up to 15,000 square feet without sprinklers. And we're at 5,785. So we're still well within the maximum parameter of an unsprinkled fire that the fire department could cater for. So whilst obviously it would be a benefit to them, we're still well within the overall limits for Chapter 5 for height and area allowances. So that's kind of the piece of analysis that I did to input into the whole case here. So I mean, if you've got any questions on what I've just said or what you've read previously, just let me know.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Count, were you going to add anything to that?
Well, I believe we did provide a letter from the Katona, I think it's the Katona Fire Department, with to you guys with response times, and they have actually, you know, they know Caramore well. Sometimes they have fire apparatus there for events in the summertime. The drive circulation for their fire apparatus is sufficient. And it's actually on, you know, described and shown on the plan. I believe it's drawing C110, which is at the end of the drawing set that we gave you guys, and it shows the fire apparatus access to this structure here. And you know, they feel like the fire department does that it's they have good access to the structure. The other thing I would like to point out, and Bill might elaborate, is that Caramore does have a staff person typically available, and you know, at these events, their fire extinguishers that will be located at every exit. Their staff is familiar with where those are and can assist as needed if there is an emergency event. And I think that sums up our presentation to you, unless Dan, our attorney, wanted to have any closing remarks. And obviously, if you guys have questions, we're here to answer them.
Okay, thank you.
I think I'd like to reserve, I know Mr. Barbuti is here, he was the reviewer for the plans for the town of Bedford and the building inspector, so if I could reserve some time to comment on their comment, if that's acceptable. I have nothing further at this time, but Mr. Cordiano could speak to the, as in the airport case that you just heard, where they had the designated fire person, they would be people at each of the 5 means of ingress and egress where the fire extinguishers are, to assist with fire suppression should a fire break out, and as well as help the people to exit the facility.
Yeah, in any non-Caramore event, we always have a few people on site, our planning group and our event group. And as in our Venetian Theater, we have fire extinguishers at every exit. We would do the same thing here. We use, I think, we have at least 5 in a Venetian Theater, 10 for 1,500 people. And here, if we have fire extinguisher for a 5,000 square foot, 300 person event, we thought that would be more than adequate.
So at this point, we're going to open it up to the members first,
Okay,
and then we'll have to anybody else who wants to make any.
I'll give a little room for the next.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start with questions from the board. Mark, you want to start us off again?
Yes, thanks. I'll start with some questions for Mr. Cowan. So can you explain how you came up with the 299 people for your occupancy since 5785? You can certainly have more than 299 even at 15 square foot per person, which would be, you know, for the tables and chairs.
Yeah, well, that's an occupancy count that we felt would be comfortable in the space for the types of events that Caramore puts on there. And it would be monitored and it would be posted, the maximum occupant count or load there. You know, as we've depicted on the G005 sheet, we gave some typical layouts which represent different numbers of occupants, which are under the 299.
Right, but if we had it sounds like they rent out the space. So if we had someone that want to have a wedding party with greater than 299, By code, they technically could because there's sufficient square footage in there, unless you are proposing that you're only going to limit to those 4 configurations on G005.
Well, I believe Caramore would monitor and enforce that occupant count. You know, anyone that's going to be having an event here, a wedding event, would not be permitted to have more than that 299 occupant count. The layouts that we show are representative or typical layouts. They could be set up differently, but there would not be more than 299 people in the structure.
I can also answer that. We have what we refer to as a Venetian theater, and if we have a large wedding.
I'm sorry, who is speaking?
Oh, this is William Cordiano.
Thank you.
If we have an event that's going to be larger than 299 people, say, 300 plus, we would have that in the Venetian theater. Over the last 5 years, we've had two really large weddings. When George Soros got remarried, and then one of the NFL team's daughters were married at Caramore. They rented the Venetian Theater, and those were weddings probably for 450 people, maybe plus. But the concept at Caramore and our Venetian Theater, all our venues, is our guests need to be comfortable. We don't cram them in. We don't host rock events where people are gathered together. If you look at the types of events that we have, classical, jazz, roots, our Venetian Theater could seat well over 2,000 people. We limit it to well under 1,500 people for comfort. And that's the same thing we would do here. We agreed to limit the occupancy to this pavilion to under 300 people at all times. There's no reason for us to do any more than that because we have alternate venues for that.
Thank you. Sticking with Mr. Cohen again, second question I have is there was no door schedule in the package, so I'm assuming there's no doors over the exits. So when you put the flaps down, those areaways will be open. What do we do about blocking the wind that's going to be channeling through there? People like to put wind screens up, and how are we going to stop that?
Well, we talked this through with Caramore, and they feel that they can live without the doors. There are lightweight door systems that could be put in later if that was deemed required. I don't think it is, but aluminum tube and vinyl doors, swing doors, could be put in there if it was deemed required.
And actually, sorry, Chris, just add something to that. Were that to be the case later on, the way I did the analysis, even though there was no doors, it assumed there were doors, because that's the calculations in all of the guidance assumes that you are passing through a door. So it wouldn't slow the egress down were a door provided, because it kind of was already assumed in there, just to let you know.
Okay, but it just gets into if someone later on wants to put the doors in there because the winds become a real challenge for anybody having events there. The doors go in, the code requirements for, swing of doors, size of doors, panic hardware on doors, those types of things need to be addressed at that time.
Sure, for sure.
Understood.
Can you explain that storage building, is it connected? I couldn't tell from the drawings if it's connected to the assembly space on G005 or what's the separation distance? Is there an overhang over it? Just explain a little bit, but between the two structures.
Of course. Yes, there is a covering. It's open air, that connector piece. That building is storage only, so it's not for the public. I believe Carl can explain too that I believe we have a 30-foot separation there. But by code, I believe that both of these structures can be figured as one building based on
Correct. So the way we did it, so we didn't have any issues of fire separation between the two, was to look in. There's a provision in Chapter 5 which says if you've got two separate structures or buildings on a single lot, you can disregard the fire separation between the two if you assumed they were constructed as one big building with no gap between them, and they were still within the maximum allowable area permitted. So the way that we did it is, well, we knew that we had type 4 construction for the pavilion. We have type 2B, I think. No, it's non-combustible, it's a metal framed shed effectively. So that was less onerous in terms of square footage than the pavilion. So what we did is we said, okay, we know we could have a 15,000 square foot unsprinkled pavilion if we wanted. We've only got one which is 5,700. Add in the, I don't know what, 3,600 into it, you're still under 15,000 square foot. So there is no requirement for space separation between the two, because they could effectively have been built as one big building had we wanted to. We didn't want to, obviously, because that's not the design. But
Right, but you didn't find any code trigger events for separation between difference in occupancies?
not in a mixed-use non-separated building, no. The mixed-use non-separated provision says that you don't have to fire separate them if you assume that each of them is the worst case occupancy and the worst case construction, which is what we did. In fact, this, Chris, was one of the comments.
Yeah, wasn't that section?
Yeah, so there's actually a full written response to that exact question, which was one of the original responses to the building permit application. So
I think it was section 705.3, exemption 1, to be specific, in the New York State Code. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I just want to make sure I understood
Okay.
how you were designing it.
Yes.
My next question is for Mr. Kehoe, is that in your life safety analysis, I didn't see anything in there taking account for those that are handicapped. So those with, using crutches or using wheelchairs, how that impacts the egress timing. So can you talk to me about how you took that into consideration?
Well, yeah, I mean, what it tends to show, and that, so in terms of obviously their response, let's say a person in a wheelchair, let's say, their response time to the alarm is no different to anybody else, unless obviously you're deaf. But we have speaker strobes, so we're assuming that they react the same time as everyone else. And even if you're deaf and you didn't hear anything, you see people all leaving, you're probably going to think I should leave too. So in terms of response time, there is no difference. But you're right, there could be a difference in terms of travel time. And in the one section which talks about travel time, it's a function of density. So the denser you are in a crowd, the slower you walk because people are in your way, like when you get off the subway and it's a crowded platform. And as people start to space out, then you start to walk quicker up until a maximum point. Because at some point, even if you're the only person walking down the sidewalk, you only walk so fast. And we know the density of our space because we know the square footage and we know the maximum of 299 people. And it actually shows that the density of people in our space does not impact their free-flowing travel time. So in effect, we would expect people in wheelchairs to travel as quick as an individual walking. Now, maybe you're right, somebody on crutches is maybe a little bit slower. I mean, we could also look at it, maybe a reduced, I mean, there is also a 50% factor on the travel speed and travel time. So when you read through the report, it says, the time it took to travel from the center to the exit was, 20 seconds. We then doubled all of that. So again, people who are moving slower, maybe factored into that. Plus the fact, we're assuming people go to the closest exit. Maybe they don't. Maybe they walk to the one that they're facing, which is slightly, 10 feet further away than the one that's behind them. So it kind of picks up all of those kind of, aspects that it's not possible to kind of roll into the analysis. So the factor of safety is also included in there, which kind of covers those pieces. And as you saw, the end result, there was 100% factor of safety in as much as it took 3 minutes to get out and 6 minutes for the system to activate. So there's a whole bunch of factors of safety in there, which I would account for that.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Shaheen?
I guess I'll start with just looking at the the report and analysis provided, could somebody please clarify in the design of the sprinkler system, what the area, the fire area of the design would be? Is it 1,500 square feet of the total space? To the light hazard ordinance? To the entire space being designed to flow at once? Yeah, please.
Having a little trouble hearing you.
You just got to state it.
No, go ahead.
Robert Ruffy, Lake Consulting Engineers, in Broadway, Hawthorne, New York. Yes, so the area is a light hazard, 1,500 square feet, but then we add in the 30% factor because of a dry system and 30% factor because of the slope ceiling system.
Okay, cool.
So that's all accounted for with into the sizing and tank storage.
Is a standpipe required?
No.
So that marks on to my next question. It's just a curiosity as to the size of the pump selected. It's a 750 gallon per minute pump. Is there a reason why that amount of flow would be required?
Based on again, 1,500 expanded out to, I think it was 2,100 with the 30% and 30% factors, as well as the head type because of the slope ceiling. And it also, the volume of the tank coming, well, not so much into the pump, but just because it's a diesel fire pump, there's only nominal selections that we can provide for those.
Okay. And so a hydraulic calculation was performed to determine that
Yes,
and that the 95 PSI was, so because that's a very large pump, and that's obviously the driver here of the cost.
Exactly.
I'll also mention just for the record that I believe just based off the insurance policy that's shown here, so probably a very high level contractor, and that perhaps other quotes could have been sought out for lower pricing. I mean, I do want to say that 600 something $1,000 just for the pump seems excessive to me.
That, if I can clarify that, that's the whole package, right? That's the whole system, not just the fire pump.
Of course.
There's a
controls,
but we also have a 20,000 gallon fire water storage tank.
I think the tank is a separate pump. So the 20,000 gallon tank was at $105,000, and then the pump is listed at $649,000.
Okay, I had to break that into
So
that could be the rest of the system there out into the structure.
I have a very strong reservation with the numbers shown here. Specifically in regards to that and the fact that I don't believe that much flow and pressure is required, but I haven't calculated. So it's just an opinion.
I could answer a little bit of the questions about the pricing if that's appropriate.
Just your name.
Yes, I'm Matthew Winter. I'm with Andron Construction, and we are at 21 Anderson Lane in Goldens Bridge, New York. Most of this estimate was produced by Northeast Fire Protection, and that $600,000 includes the whole of the system, including the pump and the piping and the pump house that's required for the outside of the building. The $104,000 was our estimate for the underground cistern, and then the alternate, the option 2 takes away that pump house for $60,000 that would not be necessary if we were able to put the cistern underneath the building, so within the building footprint. So instead of having it outside of the building footprint where we would need a pump house, if we could put it inside the building footprint, we wouldn't need that structure.
So then, thank you. So just, I guess a follow-up question on that, I actually, in my own private practice, I spec things out with Quimby equipment all the time as well.
Okay.
I've never really seen something come back over about maybe $100,000 on a really big pump. And so there's no pricing included in the quote that they actually provided. So essentially, what in addition to the Quimby quote gets us to the $650,000?
That is everything in the quote from Northeast Automatic Sprinkler. So everything on page 2, which would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th page in, starting with Northeast Fire Protection, and then on the following page, are all the scope inclusions.
And just to clarify, that includes then not just the pump, right? It's the entire sprinkler system, it's the engineering design, right? There's a lot of things here that are not specifically listed in that one line item, but there's actually quite a bit of things that you're saying are part of that pump house.
Absolutely.
Right, okay,
Oh,
great.
yeah, it includes, it's the entire system from when we get on site for the whole thing.
And I also noticed it's welded pipe here, that's spec. Just to clarify, it's a very high level and quality system that's spec'd out here by a very high level contractor. So I do believe that there could have been alternatives at a lower rate. I just want to.
And that's absolutely fair. This price was based upon input from the engineers and input from Northeast Automatic, and the guy who owns it he's a PE as well. So
Great. So they would be stamping it themselves.
Okay.
I just wanted clarification from the architect in terms of looking at the egress plan. So is egress D, does that effectively just take us to another building?
The egress plan, the G005 drawing, is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the egress is taking you to the exterior. The building is a standalone, and there's exterior space all around it, if that's answering your question. I'm not sure.
There's no walls is what was my question. I'm
No
sorry.
walls, no walls. Yeah, I don't know if you were there to see the rendering I brought up earlier at the beginning. It's basically a heavy timber frame structure, and it's all open except for the heavy timber posts.
So that heavy timber structure is the new building and the type 2B structure is the existing storage.
No, the 2B is the storage building. It's not existing. It's a prefab, non-combustible metal building. I can bring it up on the screen if you'd like. Okay.
And does anybody or any of the buildings within the vicinity of this building or generally on this site, does anybody sleep here? Does any people live in this property?
Property is 81 acres. And in the vicinity of this building, within 500 feet, there's nobody sleeping there. We do have the historic Rosen House, which is quite a bit away. We have our education center. We have what we call the Gifford House. And there are people who do sleep at the Gifford House, our musicians in residence at times. But that's nowhere near this building.
The only reason why, because there are roofs that connect a lot of these buildings.
No.
And though a fire alarm would provide the notification, the sprinkler would prevent the spread of that fire. So that was the basis of that.
Well, the only roofs nearby are the two new buildings. And then I don't remember exactly how far away the restrooms are, but those are terracotta roofs. So
from this pavilion to the other main buildings here, there's no roof structure that connects them?
No.
No.
They're hundreds of feet apart.
I guess, and then just a point of commentary, would it be accurate in saying if the building was 786 square feet less, you would not be seeking a variance?
Still have the 300 person occupancy limit.
Gotcha. So there's both triggers, right?
That's it.
Actually, I'd say if we didn't have the rain flaps, we probably wouldn't be seeking a variance. The building has no walls. If we don't have the rain flaps, it's a structure. It's not a building.
An open structure.
Open structure.
Okay. I'm uncertain of that, but that very well may be correct, yeah.
Okay, Megan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It says in the alternative, there will be no cooking in the pavilion for the banquets. Can somebody expand on the reheating of food? What type of reheating, electric or flame? and where the cooking would then be conducted.
There is no cooking done at Caramore anywhere. We have a contract with Great Performances where all our meals for all our events are brought in from the outside and warmed on site. In this instance, they would be warmed in the storage building, and nothing would be done in the pavilion itself. The covered walkway between the two is the way that the meals and everything else will be brought into the pavilion.
And what type of equipment will be used to warm food?
Not sure exactly what they use. Probably it's just generally electric warmers or.
In my experience, they're usually cases that are brought in with the food prepared and sitting in them, and they're plugged in to keep the food warm. We work with Great Performances at other venues in New York City.
So if a condition to allow only electric reheating or warming of the food wouldn't be a burden.
It's not done in the pavilion, so I'm not sure why it's really relevant.
There's no sprinkler in the storage room either.
And technically the buildings are connected.
If a wedding reception is to happen here, there's indication for a dance floor, or if there is a performance, there's indication for an area. Are there any plans to have a raised floor in any of this space, or would the entire surface be flat?
The intent is that it's a flat floor. The performances happen on the floor itself, not on a platform.
The egress locations when the flaps are down, it seems there are 5 egress locations. It seems that 4 of them have plans for a solid surface. What is the one that maybe was indicated at the north or the top of the plans? What is the ground material outside of that space for that egress?
I'd have to look at that. I understand your question. You mean there's no paving outside that opening? Is that your question?
That's what it appears on the plans.
Yes, you're right. It does appear that way. And it's a good point. I mean, we could certainly add a walkway from that just northeast to tie up with the Grape Arbor Walk, which is just about 20 feet away.
Okay, yeah, because when you're egressing folks you're egressing to a public way, right? And you need.
Yeah.
The Italian Pavilion, what is the construction of that?
It's a stucco building. It's not a building. It's actually an open structure as well, not enclosed. It's stucco and tile roof, as I recall.
That's correct.
And I see that it's about 8 feet from
Yes.
this proposed pavilion. So if people are egressing through that opening, they are likely to be entering that pavilion. Would there be anything used there to support banquets and concerts that would be in the way?
Typically not. It's just a big open building, open pavilion structure.
I do see a column right in the center of
Yes.
center.
But there's openings on each side of that column. I can bring up a photo if you want to see what that looks like. That be desired?
Oh,
If you have it handy, that's fine.
okay, yeah. And in the meantime, my next question was going to be, what is the grade around this pavilion and the other vegetation, shrubs, hedges, trees? is anything like that blocking any of these egress points?
There won't be any, sorry, hold on a second. I'm trying to.
It's all very flat, similar to the picture
Yes.
of yeah, there it is. That's in the foreground, as Chris will mention, this is Matt Winter, by the way. The foreground is is the existing paving over the tennis court that the current tent sits on seasonally. So it's all very flat.
Yeah, this is where the new structure is going to be. This is that open air connector. Here's that column in the middle that you had spoken about, and the openings on each side.
And so there are hedges on either side forcing the folks into, or forcing those folks egressing into the Italian pavilion.
Yes, I'm not sure if those are going to be removed. I think we have our civil engineer there as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just Dave, are you there?
That's just from the one exit. Is there any emergency lighting planned?
Bob, can you speak to that?
Bob Mole again, yes. I don't know, it's the points.
At all these
Right.
Okay, I didn't see it. I saw exit signs. And how far above the finished floor are the exit signs?
They would be pretty, I think they're 10 feet above approximately. Let's see if I have a section there.
That's exactly right.
10 feet?
About 10 feet, we have to look at the elevation.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Approximately 10 feet.
Are there, and my last question is, are there fire hydrants on site?
No, there's no fire hydrants.
Relying only on the fire department
Correct.
tanker trucks?
Yeah, it's all well water septic tank.
That's why we have, if there was a sprinkler system here, they'd have to install a 20,000 gallon water tank adjacent to the building to provide water for the sprinkler system and the pump that was discussed. Yep.
Okay, I think that's all I have.
Jane?
That's all I have.
Good.
I have nothing. Yes, they check in and maybe they'll answer all my questions.
Just, yeah, I'll come back to you soon. Just, getting back to the financial issue, economic burden, maybe you did mention this. So the funds to be used to construct this, is that cash on hand or is that you borrow?
We have to have a capital campaign raising the funds for it.
Raise. But your intention is to raise enough money to pay for this thing outright without having to borrow any money.
Yeah, I mean, we operated a deficit every year in the first place. The idea for us is to get to the point where we can break even in the very near future. So for us to put ourselves in further debt is not something that we are intending to do. If we can't raise the money for this, we're not going to build it.
You mentioned that there's an area close by on the site that you would normally erect a tent for any events, correct?
There is the area, well, this site, we normally put a tent on every year. About the same size as the new pavilion. It goes up in the spring, comes down in the fall. This whole portion of the campus really isn't used from November through March because it's outdoors. Our parking's on fields. It's just not practical for us to operate these venues during the late fall, early spring, or at all during the winter.
I guess my question is, if this structure were to be built, would that alleviate the necessity to put tents up on the site in the future?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're replacing a temporary, a tent that goes up annually with this permanent structure, which is basically the same size, but a lot more attractive and a lot more useful.
Okay, so these flaps, rain flaps that you're intending to install, they're manually operated, as you stated. And so
Correct.
someone from staff would be operating, closing it or opening it. That would be from the inside or the outside?
Inside.
Inside.
From the inside.
Right.
Was there any thought given to having these flaps being operated mechanically?
Yes.
And
The concerns are that the building department has an issue with them.
okay,
I mean, we looked at both. It would be simpler to have them all operated electrically, going up or down. But at this point, we've selected the mechanical use because we thought it'd be more acceptable to the building department in looking for our building permit.
and I mean, the reason why I ask is because if they were mechanically operated, and you could have them open once a fire alarm goes off. Obviously, that would, certainly help with the exiting of the building.
Yeah. We have no objection to doing that.
That was the original intent, that they be electrically, not manual, that they be button.
Mr. Chairman,
It's simpler for us also.
when you say you considered it, did you actually estimate the cost
Yes.
to do a system like that?
We did. That cost estimate was, the estimate to do it mechanically was included in our original estimate. Both buildings, the pavilion and the pre-engineered metal building, the entire project cost is about 3.9, 2.7, as Mr. Coriano said, is the price solely for the pavilion.
Right, so if you were to have the weather protection operate electrically with the fire alarm system, what is the cost of that?
I couldn't get that information.
All that, the issue with the electronically mechanic automatically opening devices, that there's nothing that would fit the aesthetics that is listed to operate with a fire alarm system. You can get listed equipment devices that will close and open automatically, shutters, but they're more industrial looking. Something that the aesthetics that we're looking for, there's nothing on the market that we found that would be applicable to a fire alarm actuated system and listed for that use.
So I think what we're saying is we would be happy to put in an electrically operated system, but it wouldn't automatically be connected to the fire alarm system. That doesn't mean that something happens, someone just doesn't go throw the switch and open it.
Okay.
Does that answers the question?
Yeah. I think so.
Yes.
Um,
I didn't think one existed, so let's see if somebody else had.
I had the same question.
and I mean, we have 5 exits, 2 on one side, 1 on each of the 3 remaining sides. Is there a possibility of adding some more, or is this pretty much?
I'm not sure what it would do, and the whole idea with putting flaps down is to keep the inclement weather out. The more we add to it, the more problems we cause. As Carl said, his ingress egress studies assumed there were doors already, and right now we don't have doors designed into it.
All right, before we move on to the, anybody else wants to comment in the audience, I just want to go back to you. So you have any follow-ups?
Question just for clarification on the life safety analysis report on page 16, just that an equation is not provided for how the The sprinkler head activation time is obtained, I'm assuming, based on the line listed above, that's in accordance with the SFPE handbook, section 4, chapter 1, 4th edition. I'm not personally familiar with that, but, you know, whatever equation was used here doesn't appear to be listed, so.
Correct. Yeah. Well, yeah. On page 16, the equations are obviously in the back of the spreadsheet, and that's just an image from it. And all the equations were taken out of the SFPE handbook. I mean, I could always add an appendix in and list all the equations that are behind that. That would be
It may
useful.
not be relevant, I just wanted to confirm that it was an equation taken from that handbook in that chapter.
Oh, yeah. It was.
And I guess just a point of clarification, so the building costs upwards of $450 a square foot to build. It's $2.7 million for a little less than 6,000 square feet.
Yes. And that, that equation, breaking it out from the $3.9 million total cost into the individual components, sort of takes into account all of the site work and the paving work.
It's
And
not just the building, please, that was
Okay.
just the curiosity.
yes.
Okay, good, James? Megan? Good. Mark, do you have any follow-up?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, so at this point, we're gonna open it up to anyone here live in person in the audience here to regarding any comments, whether it's support or in opposition to the petition. Do we have anybody here? Anybody? You don't have to, I'll just. Al, how are you? State your name for the record.
Al Solanco, Town of Bedford Building Department.
Just keep your voice up if you could.
Hi, David Barbuti, architect, code consultant for the village of Town of Bedford.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I do have an issue being that this is an A2, it's over 100. Also, A3, my question is, there is quite a bit of space that's left unattended that tables could be put in when going with the 299 number, so that's a question. The other question is, they also bring, I believe they're saying this is one building now with the storage because they have the connection. Brings in question also the fire access way as far as coming to the building now. If it was just the one structure, which is the open pavilion, then you would be looking at, you need 150 feet within, technically it's 154 if you do the calculation, which is fine. But then now you add the connection and the other building, and now you're over that. Okay, so which you're allowed to have 300 feet with a suppression system. So there's two issues here that I see. That's all I have.
I just had issues with the occupancy loading. Excuse me, they come up with a 299 person, occupancy, which is kind of convenient under the 300. And as Al said, I just see, multiple areas where additional people can, another table or two can be added. So which brings you well over the 300. And you're over the 100 based on the A2 to begin with. So it's just a concern.
And just to clarify, as far as the screenage that was brought up by the gentleman before, the building department had no say on if it was electrically powered, as they basically alluded to afterwards. So just to bring that up, and that also acts as an obstruction also. So it does create walls for the A2 situation. So that's all I have.
Okay, is there anyone else here that can comment in person? On to the people joining us remotely, is there anyone joining us remotely who would like to comment on this petition? Okay, not hearing anybody. All right, so we will, at this point, we're going to go into deliberations. So Maggie, we're going to go off the record.
On the record, Your Honor.
So back on, Megan, do you have a motion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the petition of Caramore Center for Music and the Arts, Petition number 2024-0072. The petition pertains to a variance to allow construction of a pavilion for concerts and banquets, occupancy groups A1 and A2 assembly, construction type 4, 1 story in height, 5,785 square feet in area, and located at 149 Girdle Ridge Road, Town of Bedford, County of Westchester, New York State. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the Building Code of New York State, Section 903.2.1.2, Group A2, which states an automatic sprinkler system shall be provided throughout stories containing Group A2 occupancies and throughout all stories from the Group A2 occupancy to and including the levels of exit discharge serving that occupancy where one of the following conditions exists. 1, the fire area exceeds 5,000 square feet. 2, the fire area has an occupant load of 100 or more. Petitioner is seeking relief to allow an A2 assembly occupancy without sprinklers. And if the board makes the following findings. 1, subject petition pertains to the construction of a pavilion for concerts and wedding banquets from April to early November that replaces a membrane tent that had an operating permit on the site. 2, applicant requests relief to not be required to install sprinklers for the banquet occupancy as it is over 5,000 square feet and has over 100 occupants. The concert venue would allow 12,000 square feet and 300 persons. 3, there is no municipal water available at the site. Applicant submitted cost estimates for a sprinkler system demonstrating the economic burden of strict compliance with the code. 4, applicant submitted an egress study showing that the occupants will have exited the building before sprinklers would activate. 5, the local fire department walked the site with the applicant February of 2024 and in correspondence stated, quote, there were no glaring or obvious concerns that would prevent necessary fire operations, end quote. 6, as an alternative, the applicant proposes reduced travel distance and time for exiting, greater exit width, no cooking in the building, and staff training in the use of fire extinguishers. In accordance with the above findings, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would not achieve the code's intended objective, would be unnecessary in light of alternatives, which ensure the achievement of the code's intended objective, or in light of alternative which, without a loss in the level of safety, achieve the code's intended objective more efficiently, effectively, or economically. And granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the above noted section be granted with the following conditions. 1, there shall be no cooking in the building. 2, banquet events shall only occur between April and early November. 3, that there shall be dedicated staff trained in the use of fire extinguishers. 4, that there shall be an exit sign and fire extinguisher located at each exit location. 5, that all events in the pavilion will be limited to 299 occupants and shall be posted as such. 6, that there shall be no use of raised platforms under the pavilion. 7, that hard surfaces shall be provided as sidewalks at all egress points. The decision is limited to the specific building application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Megan. Do I have a second to that motion?
A second.
Shaheen Dali, second to the motion. So we will vote visually before we vote. I just want to make sure that the applicant understands the motion. Do you have any questions?
No question.
Thank you. All right, so we'll vote. Shaheen?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Mark Kavanaugh? Mark is a no. And I vote aye. So it's 4 in the affirmative, 1 against. The variance has been granted. Thank you. Just off the record for 1 minute, 2 minutes, and then we're going to come back on. Okay, we're back on record. The next petition is petition number 2024-0036. The agreed party is Geraldine Sovak as trustee. Petition pertains to a variance to allow change of occupancy from occupancy group B business to an R3 residential. Construction type 5B, 3 stories in height, 3,408 square feet in area, and located at 217 Hudson Street, Village of Cornwall on Hudson, County of Orange, New York State. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 701.3.3, automatic fire sprinkler system, which states an automatic sprinkler system is required for new dwellings. An automatic sprinkler system as required for new dwellings shall be provided. The petitioner is seeking relief not to install sprinklers. Okay, so is there someone here live in the audience that is going to present the case? Please step up, give us your name, address.
Morning, my name is John Gann, Gann, and I reside at 114 Byron Court in the town of Cornwall. I'm here to represent my mother-in-law, Jerry Sovak, on this particular variance request.
Okay. So if you could just give us a brief summary, we have all the information in front of us. But if you could just give us a brief summary.
In summary, we're basically seeking a waiver to not have to install a sprinkler system in a 2-family building. We recognize what the new fire codes happen to be in the various sections and so forth. The building currently has an apartment on the top 2 floors, and down on the first level, street level, is an office currently. And we're trying to convert that office into a 1-bedroom apartment. Just a sidebar on that one. We're recognizing what our esteemed Governor Hochul is talking about these days with trying to find more affordable housing and things of that nature. Recently, I just heard about possibly even taking some land where community colleges have some space and putting up some additional housing also. We're just a small fish in a big sea for the 1-bedroom that we're asking for. It's on the main street of Cornwall and Hudson. Visibility is good. The house has been there since 1900 or so forth. The last couple of occupants that were in the actual office building were a psychiatrist for 20 years, who also had various meetings with people, even after hours. The resident currently that's in there now on the top 2 floors has been a long-term resident, probably about 5 years also in that building. My wife, who also is the daughter of the petitioner, also used the office for her legal office for a period of time also to try to help facilitate some of the economic strain that my mother-in-law has just experienced with her husband passing away. The request for the sprinkler system was triggered by the change of venue in terms of how we use the space from an office to a 1-bedroom apartment. No changes, however, are going to be worked on in the structure whatsoever. We're not building anything out. As a matter of fact, our architect also gave us in his plan the need to put 1 additional egress window in also on the bedroom side of the apartment. The actual house itself is less than 1 block away from the fire company. I think they have five doors there. We're also within 1 block of a fire hydrant itself. And we also offer some alternatives to putting in a very costly sprinkler system in that particular complex. From an economic point of view, I'm looking at, even though the quote that we got from a sprinkler company, and it's very hard to get these guys to commit to even giving an estimate these days, was a total of 17.5. That cost them it, along with all the other things with water tanks and things of that nature to put everything together, including plumbers, electricians, maybe even some carpenters as an example, to put everything together, because the house would have to be repaired also, where all the various pipes and sprinkler systems and heads have to go into, and they have to be maintained also. So we're talking probably close to 50,000 for something like that to happen. Just recently, before my wife exited the office there, we just passed the local fire inspection report on the entire building. The only thing that we were asked to add was an additional smoke and carbon monoxide type device in the master bedroom in the unit upstairs on the second floor. All the other places have handheld fire extinguishers, and hope to continue with that also. So, in keeping with what the governor has been asking about, she is also, I guess, asking in her executive order, if I can quote her on this, in addition to the executive order directing New York state agencies, public authorities, and public benefit corps and related state entities to take into account the goal of creating additional housing in all policy and programmatic decisions that we handle. Also, we're proposing, in lieu of putting in a sprinkler system for all 3 floors, or any floors for that matter, is some very inexpensive alternatives that we feel are things that can be very, very helpful. And we've included a schedule of that in the package as well. So hopefully we can have that under consideration.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. So open it up to questions here from the board members. So Mark, you want to start us off?
Sure. Just one quick question, I think, is that with your fire suppression system, the reason you're going with a tank system with pump, can you explain, is that because there's insufficient city water pressure in order to feed that sprinkler system?
I'm not picking it up.
So I guess the question is the proposed sprinkler system that I guess the cost estimate with the
Yes.
proposal, it mentions a tank system, a tank and pump system.
Yes.
Is that because you don't have adequate street pressure?
The pipe coming into the property itself, it's only 1 meter. It's on a 3/4 inch pipe. Okay, so I was told that in order to reach the 3rd floor, which is like an attic area, that they would probably have to have, like the way he quoted it was 2 refrigerator-sized cabinets to store the water in, and also a facility, to have that pump like that as well, down in the basement. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Get that, Mark?
Yep, I'm all set. Thank you. That's all I have.
So you have, okay. Jane, you want to start us off?
Sure. So right now, there's only one apartment upstairs.
Upstairs, there's one apartment occupying 2 floors. Yeah, they have their own private access stairwell in the back of the unit. So they go up and down the stairs without affecting anybody else in the lower section. And there's also a egress for the basement going out to the parking area.
Okay, and from this existing 1st floor
Yes,
that you're proposing to turn into an apartment,
right.
there's only access through the front door?
There is access to 2 front doors. Okay, if you envision the space itself divided into 2 sections. Okay, the left section, as you're looking from the street, would be the living room, the kitchen, and dining area. On the right side would be a bedroom, walk-in closet, and the bathroom facilities. On both sides of both of those areas are egress windows on each side. The architect is asking us to put one in on the right side as well. And also there are two windows in the back of one window in back of each one of the sides. And there is also additional side windows also. So on the plan itself, it's calling for one additional egress window on the right side.
And there's no exit to the rear.
Excuse me,
There's no exit to the rear.
from the first floor unit, no. But there is a window that they can also use for egress, which goes out onto the back deck. So it's like lifting the window if they needed to and step out onto the back deck.
What size is that window?
It's a huge thing. It almost goes down to down to the table and maybe 5 feet tall or something like that. I think it's about the same size as the one the architect had planned for us. Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Megan?
Yes, thank you. What type, the hot water heater and the heating, what type of utilities?
Okay, we have natural gas. The furnaces have just been replaced within the last 5 years. The apartment, we had planned on putting in what do you call that tank where it's attached to the furnace itself, another zone valve goes on with it?
Indirect.
Indirect, yes. To go with that one, they have separate heating units for upstairs and there'll be a separate unit for downstairs. They're brand new, like I say, within the last 5 years.
And the cooking ranges?
That would be natural gas as well.
I see that the bedrooms for the upstairs apartment, the upper level of that apartment, the bedroom is facing the street.
They're facing the street and also there's access facing the rear parking lot as well. Yes.
Is that a bedroom or a playroom?
It's like a playroom for the children.
And then on the second floor, the bedroom open toward the
Opens towards what, ma'am?
neighboring building.
On the second floor?
Oh, on
That's
the
the
back.
back.
It's on the back.
Second
Okay.
floor?
One of your alternatives that you put forward are escape ladders.
Yes.
So those would come out of these bedroom windows? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does is there air conditioning provided to the upper apartment?
The second floor and third floor, they have window units that are installed. Downstairs in the office complex that will be the apartment, are 3 separate zoned air conditioning units itself. Yeah,
So
that was put in about 3 years ago.
My concern is a window unit in a window that you want to use as an escape route.
That will be clear. No window units in that whatsoever.
Have you considered an exterior fire escape?
No, we have not.
And the building next door to this, to the left, if you're looking at the front of your building,
Yes. That's a single family residential home.
okay,
And on the right is, I think it might be either a 2 or 3 family next door. And by the way, on this entire strip, there's a lot of homes right on the main street like that, that are multiple families as well.
is the single family to the left of your building, does any of the construction of that building touch your building?
Do they touch?
Yeah,
The distance between our place and their place is minimal. I'd say maybe 5 or 6 feet altogether.
the fire blankets that you've listed as an alternative, kitchen fire extinguishers and fire blankets.
Yes.
Who will be inspecting and making sure that these are available for?
We see the commercials on the TV about that, and they seem pretty realistic that, they could take care of business like that too. But I personally also, in my own personal house, not only have handheld fire extinguishers, but those that are also suitable for like grease fires in the kitchen, and we plan on providing that as well. So that blanket would be just an extra, but it would be given to the tenant. And by the way, the current tenant also has one of those climb out ladders in their place upstairs on the second floor also, currently.
Okay, so the landlord would be providing the fire blankets?
Correct. And the handheld units as well. And we do the annual inspections on those also.
That's good for me.
Okay, have to believe what? One already?
I went already, yes.
Sorry. I'm reading, I got confused. Shaheen?
So is there access to the basement from the outside?
Yes, there is.
Does it go underneath the deck?
No. Wait a minute, time out. It's
You got the
adjacent to the deck, but there's a little overhead to the right-hand side of the deck. So you have, when you go down the stairs, you're not gonna take a head or anything like that on the
That
deck.
was just point of clarification.
Yeah.
I don't know if the drawing seems to have a drafting error there, as well as that window in the back of the first floor is also missing. So I think that was an error of confusion. In terms of the sprinkler itself, so today, you could legally use that first floor as a commercial space. You have authority to do that.
It's been done for probably 4 or 5 decades.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So it is a usable space. So we're, in essence, in my opinion, at least lowering the intensity of that risk, right?
Yeah.
The one reservation I do have is that I get that it's labeled a playroom, but it really feels and functions like a bedroom, and it doesn't have an egress window. I'm a little bit partial on that the building is like that. So I'll just mention that. I do think the cost you provided is very fair. That's fair. I thought it was a little interesting that it was only good for 5 days, but that's what the guy provided you. So, and my other questions were answered. So just my only real clarification was really just that basement access and the fact that, it looks like, it appears that there's another bedroom on the top floor that doesn't have an egress window. The rest of the building, I'm quite okay with.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. With the sprinkler system,
Excuse me?
with the sprinkler system?
Yeah.
I saw that obviously you have the estimate proposal. Did you consider, or did he give you an approximation of what it would cost if you to just sprinkler the path of travel, meaning the 2 stairways going from, going up to the second floor and the 3rd floor?
No, we haven't.
Did not? I know Megan mentioned the fire escape, which in my opinion would be a good addition in lieu of the rope ladders. And then lastly, what is the extent of the renovation on the 1st floor? So obviously it's a commercial space, you want to convert it to a residential space. What is that going to entail as far as, you're tearing down sheetrock or?
Yeah, sheetrock walls. We have a current drop ceiling in there right now. We plan to take that down and put up a new ceiling. As a matter of fact, almost like what we have here with the 2x2s instead of the 2x4 lengths. It's a little bit easier to maneuver. It's like a sound absorber also. Plus, the ones that we had planned in the write-up is to put one in that's fire retardant also.
Yeah, and Jane just pointed it out to me. We definitely, certainly something that's fire rated to protect the 1st floor, or the 2nd floor, the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
I think that's all I had. Sorry. Sure. Maybe not.
We've never had an incident there in any of the years that my mother-in-law has had the place.
Fortunately, it only takes one incident. Yeah.
I polled also, which is in our report, the local fire captain, and he said that any place within Cornwall and Hudson, they're there in less than 5 minutes, and the proximity of the fire company itself is like being right outside here on that block.
But that's 100% volunteer, right?
Excuse me?
100% volunteer fire department?
Volunteer, yes.
I mean, like Shaheen mentioned, I do like the fact that it's a residential unit rather than having a deli or something like that, sure, but I still have my concerns. Megan, you had some.
It was mentioned here about, a fire or smoke detection system, hardwired and connected to the central station. Is that something that exists now, or is it?
We have one right now at the lower level, which is the previous office that, there's only 2 of them there, but they're all tied in together. So if there's one, that sets it off, and let's say that's the left side, there's also sound on the right side as well. But.
With the list of alternatives, note that
Yeah.
hardwire in second and third floor smoke and CO2 detectors.
Right now, the second and third are battery operated, but we would be willing to do the wiring to have the whole house wired. In the previous presentation, you were asking a little something about the economics of the costs and stuff like that too. If the total number came out for the fire, not the fire escape, but the sprinkler system overall, in addition to the 17.5, probably close to 50,000 overall. Even if we got 1,500 for the apartment a month, the payback period as far as a return on investment would be just a tad less than 3 years. My mother-in-law is 88 years old. Right, she'd be 91 before she got that income.
Maybe your wife.
When it comes down to it, yeah, it's amazing. We were just, I think we were caught in this when the law changed and stuff like that, because like I say, all the places surrounding us, except for the one bedroom house that's right next door, are multiple families without fire extinguishers or even fire escapes from what I can see.
Okay, so I think we're done. Mark, did you have anything to follow up on?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I do have one follow-up question. In your, you talked about the rated ceiling, but there is no rating provided. So is it safe to assume you're talking a 1-hour rated ceiling?
What is it?
Are you going to install a 1-hour rated ceiling in the first floor apartment?
That would be with the drop ceiling, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Not
it
drop.
would be Type-X 5/8, 1 hour sheetrock, and then the drop.
Yes, yeah, that's what we have planned to do. Yeah, yes.
Okay, Mark, do you hear that?
Yep, I did. Thank you. That's all.
All right, so we'll move on to any comments from the public. So is anyone here live in person who would like to make any comments regarding this petition? Okay. Not seeing or hearing anybody. Is it anybody joining us remotely who would like to make a comment regarding this petition?
Yes, Manny Carmona, building inspector, Village of Cornwall on Hudson.
Hey, Manny.
Hi, how are you? I spoke intensely with the applicant in this particular application, trying to find a solution to his situation. But nonetheless, I was not able to get a co-path for approval, and that's the reason why I asked him to come in front of you to request a variance. I also spoke with the fire chief of the Cornwall on Hudson Fire Department. He is not objecting to the application as long as some kind of alternative system of safety is provided, such as a fire alarm system throughout, a limited area fire sprinkler system, fire escape, or a combination thereof. Myself, I do not have an objection, but my feelings all the same as the fire chief.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else on who would like to speak? Okay. Not hearing anyone. At this point, we're going to go into deliberations. So we're going to go off the record.
We are back on the record, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Megan, do you have a motion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the petition of Geraldine Sobak, trustee, petition number 2024-0036. The petition pertains to a variance to allow a change of occupancy from an occupancy group B business to an R3 residential. Construction type 5B, 3 stories in height, 3,408 square feet in area, located at 217 Hudson Street, Village of Cornwall on Hudson, County of Orange, New York State. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 701.3.3, automatic fire sprinkler system, which states an automatic sprinkler system as required for new dwellings shall be provided. The petitioner is seeking relief to not install sprinklers. The board makes the following findings. 1, subject petition pertains to changing the occupancy on the first floor from a business to an apartment, and the second and third floors are occupied by a single apartment. The building is located 400 feet from the local firehouse. 2, applicant requests relief to allow alternatives to installing a sprinkler system in the building. 3, applicant states that sprinklering the entire building would be physically impracticable because of the existing tenant. An excessive economic burden shown by NFPA 13D cost estimates, and cites the governor's policy to address regulatory hurdles to building new housing as an important program. 4, as an alternative, applicant proposes to provide a fire-resistive rated ceiling on the first floor to separate the 2 dwellings, installing fire extinguishers throughout the building, adding rope-type escape ladders for the second and third floors, and emergency lighting with battery backup on the stair landings. 5, the local code official has been contacted in this matter and supports the granting of a variance under Part 1205. In accordance with the above findings, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship, and would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden, would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which ensure the achievement of the code's intended objective, or in light of alternatives which, without a loss in the level of safety, achieve the code's intended objective more efficiently, effectively, or economically. And granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the above noted section be granted with the following conditions. 1, there shall be there shall supply first, second, and third floors with handheld fire extinguishers, at least 1 per floor, and have them recertified each year and coordinate fire safety inspections with the Cornwall and Hudson Code Enforcement Officer. 2, supply first and second floor kitchen areas with separate kitchen rated fire extinguishers to be inspected and maintained by the landlord. 3, supply first and second floor kitchen areas with fire blankets to smother any stove-type fire, by cutting off oxygen to supply of the fire, also to be inspected and maintained by the landlord. 4, supply second and third floor with new rope escape ladders. Separate ladders will be for both second and third story applications each, and supporting up to 1,000 pounds. 5, provide LED exit signs, emergency exit lights with battery backup at second and third floor and entrance hallway. 6, provide hardwired and interconnected smoke and carbon dioxide detectors in the entire building. And this system shall report to a central station.
Including the basement.
Including the basement, entire building including the basement. 7, install first floor window in bedroom area for egress per plan. 8, install a 1-hour fire rated assembly at the ceiling of the first floor. 9, that no window air conditioning units shall be installed in egress windows. 10, that the playroom window shall meet egress requirements. The decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Megan. Do I have a second to the motion?
Point of clarification. On the fire alarm, I think it's item number 6. I thought I heard her say carbon dioxide and it should be carbon monoxide.
I thought so, but it's written here with a 2, so thank you.
Yep, thank you.
So do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Jane Slavin seconds it, and we're going to vote. So, Mr. Gann, we have a motion to approve the variance and a second with the conditions that Megan had read out. Do you understand that?
Could I ask you to read back number 9 and number 10, please? I didn't get those two.
Yep. No window air conditioning units can be installed in egress windows.
Okay.
And that the playroom on the 3rd floor, right? That window shall meet egress requirements.
Much more.
The window in the playroom
Yes.
needs to meet egress requirements.
Egress.
It's got to be an egress.
Yes, thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to vote now. Mr. Heath?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Mark Kavanaugh?
Aye.
I also vote aye.
Thank you very kindly. Appreciate it. Have a good day, everyone.
Maggie, we're going to go off the record for a minute. Okay, we're back on. The next petition is petition number 2024-0071. Agreed party is Adrien Smith. Petition pertains to a variance to allow construction of a one-family dwelling, construction type 5B, 3 stories in height, 3,685 square feet in area, and located at 915 Howard Avenue, Village of Mamaroneck, County of Westchester, New York State. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, Residential Code of New York State, Section R 313, and 2-family dwellings automatic sprinkler systems, which states an automatic fire sprinkler system shall be installed where such dwellings have a height of 3 stories above grade plane. Petitioner is seeking relief to allow construction without an automatic fire sprinkler system. Okay, so is there anyone here in the audience who is going to present this case? No? Okay. Is there someone here joining us remotely that is going to present the case?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Andreen Smith. I'm the homeowner, 915 Howard Avenue, Mamaroneck, New York, 10543. I also have on the line with me my architects, William Spade and Kiko Spade.
Okay. Okay, so if you can just give us we have all of the information that was submitted, plans, sprinkler system estimates,
Sure.
So if you could just summarize this for us, great. Either you or your architects, either one.
Sure. So as I mentioned, I own the home at 915 Howard Avenue, which is just a 864 square foot single story ranch home that was flooded by Hurricane Ida in 2021. The home was substantially damaged, as was determined by the Village of Mamaroneck, and has been sitting vacant and waiting for work to be done on it since that time. I am required by the village code, which adopts the FEMA flood regulations, to elevate my home because it was substantially damaged. So it has to be elevated to 11 feet above the base flood elevation in order to meet the flood requirements, which will make the home, once it is, the home is, I should mention, the home is going to be demolished and rebuilt because it was so substantially damaged that I was advised that it was better to demolish it and rebuild. So at the same time that I'm demolishing and rebuilding, I'm also expanding it. So it's going to be a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. It will be 2 stories sitting on top of a foundation that includes a garage and storage on the first floor as required by the FEMA flood regulations, which prevent any sort of use of the home, of the first floor of the home other than garage and storage. So it's still considered a 3-story home, even though that first story is unusable except for those purposes. And so I am requesting a variance so that I do not have to install the fire sprinkler throughout the home because of the extensive costs. As you can see in the quote I submitted to you, I am already incurring substantial costs because I have to find the funds basically to redo the entire home, which is not going to be even half covered by the flood insurance proceeds that I've received so far. And actually at the moment, I'm still waiting to get some FEMA grant money to assist with the cost of the rebuilding, which is why it's taken 2 years since the home was damaged by Ida in 2021. Are there any particular questions?
No, I mean, we're gonna get to the board questions. I just want to know if there's maybe the architects want to add anything before we get into the questions? No? Okay. All right, so we'll get into the questions. Start with, I guess, Mark, you want to start us off again?
Sure, just one quick question. I see there was a variance approved on July 27th, 2023. If with that variance, is there anything in there that would conflict with any approval if we approve this variance?
No, so the variances that were approved by the zoning board were for the setback, so the rear and the side and the front setback required variances, and there was also, I believe, a half-story variance as well that was issued, but nothing that's related to this or
Okay.
would impact this.
Thank you. That's it for me.
That's it, Mark? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, Shaheen?
May I ask what the total cost of construction of the proposed housing?
The lowest cost that I've received for the complete project, I believe, is around $670,000 to do everything from the demolition to rebuilding the whole thing.
So it costs about $670,000, and the cost of the sprinkler system is roughly $30,000 in the quote provided?
$37,000 in the quote provided.
It's about 5% of the construction cost. So I personally don't feel that it's an economic burden based off that. Can you comment on the height of the building and the height of the attic floor if there is access to it?
The height of the building will be 34.5 feet. And you said that the attic?
Is there access to an attic?
There will be a drawdown ladder that will allow storage in the attic, but that's about the only use of the attic.
And that attic would effectively function as a 4th floor?
I'm not quite sure. I might defer to Bill on this one. I'm not quite sure how to answer that particular question. What do you count as a 4th story? You can put boxes up there. It's not a full height. You can't stand up. Is that what you're asking?
Sure, thank you.
And to your previous point about the cost, I know 5% might not be a lot for some folks, but like I said, I'm still trying to get funding from FEMA to assist just with the base costs already. So anything additional to that is significantly burdensome. I'm already paying both mortgage and rent throughout the whole cost of this. So everything adds up and it's burdensome to me personally.
So my confusion in that, and I wholeheartedly understand you, is just that the structure is about 3 times or 4 times as large as what you originally had. Therefore, I just have some confusion in terms of, you're building a lot more than you had, but yet you don't have enough to do it safely is what I see.
Well, I provided a couple options within the letter that I submitted to you. And as I mentioned, I'm still waiting for FEMA to respond. The village has already submitted an application on my behalf, as well as I think 2 other residents within the village of Mamaroneck for additional funds that would help to offset the cost of that. And I've already been approved for a small business administration loan, which would also cover part of the cost of that. The reason that the house is being expanded is because since I left the home in 2021, my family has grown since then. Initially, it was just me and my son. It's now me, and now I have 2 kids since then. So we needed additional space. The original home, as I mentioned, was about 860 square feet. And there wasn't enough space already just for the 2 of us that were there. So I needed to make it bigger. And I also needed to, I figured the significant cost is in the elevation itself. So I figured it would be best to do it all in one shot rather than wait another few years and incur substantial cost to then expand it at that time.
Very fair, that makes sense. My last question is just, when did you purchase this property?
In 2016.
It's great, okay, thank you.
Megan?
Yeah, can you tell us about the alternatives that you're putting forward, you're proposing?
So I'd propose to do the connection to the fire department, the fire alarm system that's directly connected to the fire department. They're pretty close. It's a small village, so about 5 minutes away or less. And so I was suggesting that it would be wired within the house. So if the smoke alarm goes off, then they would be able to find that out right away.
Somewhere I made a note here, somewhere I had read, is there discussion about a partial sprinkler in the stairwells?
I believe I included that as an alternative. If the first one was not sufficient, then that would be a second option.
And you mentioned the firehouse is about 5 minutes away. Is that a volunteer fire company?
It is. The entire village is all volunteer.
Have you spoken with the fire department about their feelings on this?
I've spoken to the building department, but not the fire department.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Jane?
Do you have any questions at this time?
Okay, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
No, sorry, this is Bill Spade, the architect working with Andreen. So yeah, I was having a microphone problem before, so I got that fixed. I just wanted to also throw out another alternative, which might be a cost-effective solution, which would be to install pull-out fire ladders outside of the bedrooms to enable the 4 bedrooms on the 3rd floor to have a ladder access out of the building from that level. I've not installed, but I've seen these ladder devices that look essentially like a vertical gutter when they're installed against the building facade, and then there's a lever to then allow it to extend out and become a ladder. And so that might also be a cost-effective solution for as an alternative to the sprinkler requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so a couple of questions. One is, it says 3,685 square feet. Did that include the first floor, the
Yes.
floor level?
It does include the first floor, the garage level, which is not really usable space.
So really, your living space is going to be probably about 2,400 square feet. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
And the financing of the project, I assume, I mean, you're gonna be taking out some sort of mortgage, over 30 years or 15 years, is that fair to say?
Yes, it's with the Small Business Administration, but it is a 30-year loan.
And have you figured out if you were to put installing the sprinkler system? Have you figured out what the cost would be if you amortize that out over 30 years? You know, what the monthly cost would that would be for, you know, to your monthly payment?
No, but I can calculate that really quickly as we speak.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said I had not, but I can do that right now.
Okay, I was just curious. I mean, you know, but my next question is, have you looked into insurance costs? I mean, when you have a house that's sprinklered and you have a house that's not sprinkled, there's going to be a difference in cost to insure that structure. Do you have any idea, or have you looked into what the savings would be if you had a sprinkler system as opposed to not having one?
No, not yet.
I think that was all I had. Gee, yes. Okay. So Mark, do you have any follow-up questions?
No, sir.
Anything else? Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on to people here in the live audience. Do we have anybody here who would like to comment on this petition? Okay, is there anyone joining us remotely who would like to comment regarding this petition? All right, not hearing anybody. Ms. Smith, before we go into deliberations, do you have any other comments you would like to make, or your architects?
Not me, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you very much.
Just, Ms. Smith, were you able to calculate out the difference?
I did initially said 180, 100, but that sounded high, so I'm just double checking my calculations.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So at this point, we're going to go into deliberations. So we'll be back. We'll go off the record. Okay, thank you. Okay, Megan, do you have a motion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the petition of Andreen Smith, petition number 2024-0071, the petition pertains to a variance to allow construction of a one-family dwelling, construction type 5B, 3 stories in height, 3,685 square feet in area, and located at 915 Howard Avenue, Village of Mamaroneck, County of Westchester, New York State. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the residential state section R313, 1 and 2 family dwellings, automatic fire sprinkler systems, which states, an automatic fire sprinkler system shall be installed where such dwellings have a height of 3 stories above grade plane. The petitioner is seeking relief to allow construction without an automatic fire sprinkler system. The board makes the following findings. 1, subject petition pertains to the reconstruction of a home substantially damaged by flooding. 2, applicant requests relief to construct the 2 habitable stories to be constructed above a garage, which must be raised 11 feet above base flood elevation according to FEMA and local ordinance important public policies. 3, applicant proposes a fire alarm system monitored by an approved supervising station as an alternative to sprinklering the dwelling. 4, applicant submitted a cost estimate for a sprinkler system demonstrating excessive economic burden. 5, the local code official has been contacted in this matter and supports the granting of a variance Part 1205. In accordance with the above findings, the board finds that insufficient evidence has been provided to warrant a variance, and the granting of a variance would substantially adversely affect the uniform codes and provisions for health, safety, or security. Therefore, I move that the variance request be denied. The decision is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Megan. So we have a motion to deny. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, Shaheen Dali seconded. Ms. Smith, do you understand the motion?
Yes, I understand the motion.
Do you have any questions before we vote?
Do you provide a rationale for the basis for the denial, or is that not something that's done?
I mean, you'll get a copy of the decision. That's it. I mean, I think you heard through some of our comments what the issues were. Right. All right, so we're going to vote. So a vote of aye is to deny the variance. Shaheen?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Mark Kavanaugh?
Aye.
I also vote aye. So the variance is denied. Okay, at this point, we're going to go off the record for a minute, Maggie, and back on shortly. Thank you. Before we get started, Mark, you should have received an email with another exhibit.
Okay.
So see your email?
I'll go get it.
All right. We'll wait for you to get it right before we start.
Okay, I've got it.
Okay. Okay, so the next case is petition number 2024 0074. Free party is Israel Osric. Petition pertains to a variance to allow a change of occupancy of a dwelling from a one-family to a three-family dwelling occupancy group R2, residential construction type 1B, 4 stories in height, including basement, 1,973 square feet in area, and located at 55 Landers Street, City of Newburgh, County of Orange, New York State. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYC RR, Part 1221, Building Code of New York State, Section 903.2.8, Group R, which states an automatic sprinkler system installed in accordance with Section 903.3 shall be provided throughout all buildings with a Group R fire area. The petitioner is seeking relief to allow construction without an automatic sprinkler system. Okay, before we get started, we were just handed something which was not in our package. It appears to be an estimate for a fire sprinkler system. So we're going to mark this Exhibit C. Okay. Okay. All right. Is someone here going to step forward and present the case? Let's see. State name.
Sure. My name is David Nimatko. It's my office, the architectural firm that is proposing the alternatives and doing the design for the project. As was mentioned earlier, we're here before you on a renovation of an existing building that was a single-family, 3.5-story high townhouse type arrangement. If you look at the pictures that we show on our cover letter, and to be converted to a 3-family or 3-unit R2 use. The structures consist of masonry walls on the front and back and masonry party walls shared with the remaining or other townhouses on either side. We're requesting relief from the sprinkler system requirement because it is going to be an economic burden and a hardship to bring the service into the building, since the ordinance in the city of Newburgh does not allow a lateral off the domestic line. A new service water line would have to be brought in from the street. That is the reason why you have two estimates in front of you. That 65,000 plus or minus estimate is to open up the street and bring in the water lateral into the building. And then the $18,000 or $19,000 estimate is for the sprinkler work within the building. Please note that those estimates have quite a few exclusions associated with it, and they also do not include any electrical requirements or unknown conditions, which quite frankly, in opening up a street as old as the streets are in the city of Newburgh, it's within the realm of reality to believe we're going to encounter unknown conditions, whether the condition of the existing water main, the subsurface materials that are around it, or what else is needed. Yet, this building does comply with the building code for a 3B type construction, R2 use. Our considerations or our alternatives are to allow the building to comply with a much stricter building code application. That stricter requirement is listed in our cover letter, and we can bring the building up to a type 1B construction. And as you know, the difference between the 3B and a 1B is combustible versus non-combustible. So the owner's willing to reconstruct the interior of this building according to 1B construction. Metal studs, metal joists. We show a non-combustible exterior wall assembly in the front and in the back. And so the whole 5/8 fire-coated sheetrock throughout. So basically, this building will be a non-combustible building where the building code allows it to be combustible. The second is, I touched on it already. Since the front exterior wall and the back exterior wall are not load-bearing, we're able to find a UL rating that will increase the fire rating of it to be a non-combustible 2-hour rated construction. Also, since the building is a part of a streetscape of other buildings, we did take into consideration the proximity of the existing windows to the surrounding buildings, and we're prepared to make those 1-hour rated window systems, all of them meeting egress requirements in their size. The 1-hour rating, Fire Tech is a manufacturer that provides one, and I'm sure we can use approved equals, but right now, for the basis of this discussion, we did locate a manufacturer that could provide those type of windows. The interior walls for 3B construction need to have a 0-hour rating. We're proposing that to be all 1-hour rated, again, non-combustible construction rather than 0-hour combustible construction. It's interesting that the building code does allow a single exit common to 4 maximum units on 3 stories. In fact, that was one of the designs that we did submit to show a single access from the units going down. That was not accepted. So in lieu of that, we're proposing a fire escape in the back of the building, which goes out to grade at that side and provides 2 means of egress for all units, whether right now either by the fire escape and a hallway leading out to the exterior, or fire escape and an emergency egress window opening. The travel distance for 3B construction is 125 feet. We are well below that, with a maximum of 1 unit being 65 feet. We believe without question, the R2 automatically triggers the fire alarm system connected to a central monitoring station. We agree with that, acknowledge it. That will be done as part of the project or as a requirement of the project. We believe that these alternatives provide a very safe condition for that building and are good substitutions for the sprinkler system. Right now, with the cost of wood is constantly increasing, getting metal studs and metal joists are a lot easier than they were in the past, and the cost differences are not as great. The big cost difference in these proposals, or this proposal, are the fire escape in the back, which the owner is willing to do, and the fire-rated window systems or one-hour systems to protect the surrounding buildings. Yet, the cost of that in a locked-in permanent condition versus the cost of opening up a street to bring in a lateral for a sprinkler system and the unknown conditions of that are just unbalanced. You know, where here we could provide a safe building, very safe, non-combustible building with locked-in costs versus a sprinkler system where we just don't know what's going to happen in the street. We're not sure what other conditions will be encountered. So we hope the board sees the same, has the same view of it as we do. And, of course, I'm here to answer any questions. I did forget to mention one thing. It is 3.5 stories. We're proposing a 3-unit building. The lower level would contain 1 unit with 2 bedrooms. The first floor, which is a walk up, if you look in the pictures, would be a 2nd unit that would have 2 bedrooms. And then the 2nd and 3rd floor would be 1 unit with 4 bedrooms, as we show on our plans. And I'm open, yes, that's it for now.
Yeah, we're gonna get the questions. Make sure you're done.
Yes.
Okay, so at this point, we'll open up to questions from the board. So, Mark, you want to start us off?
Okay, I just right now just have one question, trying to understand the size and scope of the project. And looking at your letter dated February 1st, 2024, on page 2, you have a picture of the block of buildings, and that looks like is it the gray-faced area, or is it just the center part of the gray-faced area that is part of your scope? Because it looks like there's another at the end being also part of construction or under construction. So is that all your structure or a worker scope?
No, it is the one building, Mark. If you could look on page 3 of that cover letter.
Yep.
It identifies the building more.
The centerpiece of that gray piece between the pink and the blue section there.
Correct.
Okay.
Each floor is approximately 500 square feet or less.
Okay, so I'm assuming there's sprinklers being put at the end unit.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to understand how the end unit can do it and you can't. All right, that's all I have. Thanks.
Okay.
No, I did have a question, but he answered it, I think. One question I would have is the cost to upgrade the construction of the building to, as you're proposing, what's the additional cost to the job?
It's incremental because the building is gutted in its entirety. You have 4 masonry walls, a roof, and existing wood joists that are holding the party walls in place.
Right, but if you were to put the building back together as a one family, so you didn't have to do there's that cost. And then you now have the cost of all of the upgrades that you're proposing to make it more fire safe.
Correct.
What's the difference between those two?
I could guess if that would help. I would say fire escape is probably around 15 to 20,000. The windows would be an upgrade because you have the cost of new windows and then what it would take to make them 1 hour rated. I would say they're probably at least good $1,000 each, 15, so you talk about another $10,000. And then the metal stud and metal joist increase is not great because wood is climbing so high in its cost. And now there are, trades are a lot more familiar with dealing with metal studs. But if I had a guess on that, 500 square feet, a buck a square foot, 2,000 square feet total, $10,000 upgraded materials.
And what about going from 1/2-inch sheetrock to 5/8?
I would say that would probably be, the labor cost is the same, so the materials cost is, I'm guessing 50 cents a square foot more. Even if, I can't see it being more than that.
That's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Megan?
I just had a few questions. You mentioned that you would be proposing, or part of the alternatives would be two egresses from each apartment. So the door at the front and then an emergency escape and rescue opening at the back. Is that correct? Okay. I was going to ask if construction work has begun. You answered that. How far along is the work?
I would say demolition work,
Okay.
to be quite honest with the board, but reconstruction work has not occurred. That's why one of the reasons why we're here.
And the proposed rated windows, they would be to protect the neighboring buildings from a fire occurring in this building, the neighboring apartments in one apartment.
Correct. The code asks for certain distances between windows or openings in exterior non-load bearing walls. So the distances, as we show on the elevation there, page 03, are less than what the code requires, so we'll be rating those windows. So it would protect one unit from the other and also the units from the surrounding units. But also you brought up,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you brought up another point I did forget to mention. Not only are we rating the exterior walls, we're rating the floor assemblies between each floor as a 2-hour rated non-combustible assembly, where the 3B use would allow it to be combustible assemblies.
And so it sounds in your answer just now about the windows that you would be required to be specifying these windows, whether you have a sprinkler or not, because of the distance, or is it only because you don't have the sprinkler?
Because we don't have a sprinkler system.
Okay. And if you have natural ventilation requirements, and these are operable windows, I questioned how a fire rated window, what protection it serves if it's actually. But I don't know that I'm really asking you that question, but it would be a concern of mine. I think that's all I have for now.
Shane?
So just first point of clarification, because you kind of stated that the building could be a single exit building, but that's only if it was sprinkled.
Correct.
So the fire escape in the back.
Oh, wait, no, wait a minute.
I'm not aware of an R2 being permitted with a single exit unless it's sprinkled.
Correct. Okay, stories with one exit or access to one exit. Correct.
It's an unequivocal issue. And then, so for the fire escape is really it's a full-on stair.
Yes,
Right, so it's an egress stair at the end of the day.
it is.
Right, it has closed risers, it has adequate handrails and guardrails.
Well, I don't know if it has closed risers or not. I mean, it has adequate rails. It's non-combustible. It is it is separated from the building since we are rating the non-load bearing wall. Yeah, well, no, in a fire rating.
Gotcha.
Okay, so there is a 2-hour fire rating between the building and that egress stair through just the nature of the masonry wall, plus what we're adding with the metal studs to get that UL component.
The whole stair is not combustible. Also.
Correct.
But it does bear onto the building.
Well, it's fastened to the building, but it bears down onto the ground.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know offhand because I haven't done the research, but I'd just like to ask you, maybe you know. So a new fire escape would be permitted as a second means of egress?
Yeah, we looked it up in the code, in the 2020 code, and the fire escapes are now there's a provision for it, without question. Actually. Building code section 504.1.3.
Okay, so those are my questions about that. The street itself, is it local? Is it a locally owned street? Later?
City of Newburgh, yeah, owns the street.
County or state?
No, it's not a county road, no.
Are there very extraneous requirements to obtain a permit in this city to open the street?
Oh, yes.
There are, because I'm not familiar with Newburgh, but
Yeah.
I do feel the cost of a little high for a 2-inch main.
Yeah, but opening up the street and
Over there.
what is the depth of the existing main? Stopping traffic, it's a one.
Well, that's the thing, if they make you do the whole traffic and hire police and everything, then I understand the cost.
I don't know about the police, but I mean, they'll definitely have to close the street for the time of construction. There's no question about it. And then again, it's the unknown conditions of opening up the street.
Sure. I mean, you could call code 53 and figure out what's there.
Not sure.
I'm sure you could, it's all public right away, so they would mark it out. Okay. The building has an existing water main right now. Does it have utilities?
It is completely gutted. I mean, there was.
So you're opening up that street regardless?
No, there's a domestic going to the building, but it's cut off. Yeah, all the utilities to the building are cut off, but they remain in place.
So the only purpose of it was like, will you need to provide a street opening for another service?
No.
No, right, okay, great.
Not to my knowledge, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, can I get to that?
Yeah, please.
Is the existing service large enough to support 3 separate?
Well, he stated that this local municipality requires a separate main regardless.
Okay.
A separate lateral.
Yes. So
I thought I had seen that place, so
Quite honestly, that's the
killer.
That's the killer.
Right.
I mean, if we could tap off the existing water service, off the existing domestic with a backflow preventer and, do a system where it just takes care of the stairs or something like that. I mean, it would be great, but it's the street opening and the construction associated with it. That's
the cost there, yeah. Okay, I think that's pretty much all my questions. So I have 2 more follow-up questions. So 1, you stated the interior walls will all be rated. Does that mean even the bedroom walls, you're gonna rate them, it's gonna go all the way up to the ceiling?
Yes.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
And, okay, great. And then, yes, just if you could clarify that the first floor is less than 6 feet from the grade, so it's not a 4-story building?
correct. It is
It's not a 4-story, it is a 3-story building.
3.5 story.
3.5.
Yes,
But the first floor is less than 6 feet from the grade.
correct.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
I was, the water main thing, that's what I wanted to follow up on, but, so they don't allow you to tap off the city of Newburgh does not allow that?
No, I'm going to tell you my experience, okay, and whatever else. Yeah, I've been before the planning board in the city of Newburgh on other projects. The municipal engineer or the plant, we are not allowed to tap off the existing domestic. And I can show detail after detail and submission after submission where we had to bring in water laterals with the elevations and everything required, with those laterals.
The fire escape, I know these are only conceptual plans, obviously not for construction, but it is freestanding.
Well, it has to be attached to the building,
Yeah, no,
but we'll bring the loads down to grade.
yeah, because I don't see the columns on the plan.
Oh, no.
I missed it.
Invisible columns.
Getting back to,
Take that off the record.
getting back to the structural members inside, you said there's existing wood floor joists that are in place right now.
3x8s, 3x10s. One of the
3x10s,
two.
and then you move those and replace those with,
Metal joists. There'll be a metal joist system, non-combustible, 2-hour rated UL system. And quite honestly,
Inside as well, sorry to cut you off. The stair inside also would be non-combustible?
it would have to be.
It would have to
Yeah,
be,
it would
right?
have to be, yes. The egress stairs have to follow the type of construction, so, I mean, a concept, so we would have to follow that without question.
that's all I had. Anybody have any follow-ups?
I do.
Jane?
So back to the water main. Is the existing line that's servicing the building right now, did anybody check to see if it's large enough for the additional plumbing fixtures?
I would, to answer your question directly, no, but I would imagine it suffices. It's under pressure. The fixtures are not used constantly.
Oh, but that's not how the plumbing code works, right? You have to do the calculation based on the number of fixtures.
On the
right?
units, yes.
It's be interesting to see if that actually still works.
Could be. I mean, it was a one-family unit. I mean, they had, I would imagine they had multiple bathrooms anyway within that structure. That's the load of the bathrooms.
But they didn't have 3 kitchens.
Correct.
And I also question, why would you remove 3x10s and replace with metal?
Well, I'm trying, I don't want to. I like to leave them in place and put the 10-inch joists or 12-inch joists going across them, and sister them along them. But I think that would jeopardize the non-combustible fire-rated assembly.
Just to reach the non-combustible, because I was gonna say, you can get a 2-hour assembly
Yes.
with 3x10s, which they've proven is actually a very solid assembly. That's why I question it, but it's only to reach the non-combustible.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's, one of the premises of our request to you is the basis that the existing building is 3B, which allows combustible construction. And we're saying we could subject this building to 1B with non-combustible construction. And I mean, why not? Why have sprinkler systems it's gonna put out a fire, but non-combustible construction, will impede the fire even quicker. So I think it's a viable option. Why have it starting to begin with?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I have one more.
The 4 bedrooms that you have planned for the upper level of the 3rd apartment, top floor, will those window openings be able to meet emergency escape and rescue? Okay, because they look substantially smaller.
But the whole opening will be operable. So will not be divided or distinguished by a sash.
And not height off the ground.
Correct.
Mark, do you have any follow-up questions?
Not from the architect. I'm hoping Chief Spinelli is available.
Not the architect. She's fine.
Okay, I don't know if you, Chief? Okay, so we're gonna bring him up in a second.
Hang on.
So at this point, we're done with questions from the board members, so we're gonna open it up to people in the audience. Here, person. So, do we have anybody here? Come on up and identify yourself.
Say good morning, but I think we're past that. My name is Francis Spinelli. I'm the fire chief and the building inspector in the city of Newburgh. Our address is 22 Grand Street in the city of Newburgh and 123 Grand Street in the city of Newburgh.
Andrew Torres, Senior Code Compliance Officer at the City of Newburgh, formerly.
I have a memo for the board. Many copies. I'd like to read the record. The purpose of this communication is,
Just hold on.
yes, sir.
Your intention is to read the whole thing in?
Yes, sir. I'll read as fast as I possibly can. And then I have some comments for you in addition.
Okay. Proceed.
The purpose of this communication is to object to the variance from the 2020 New York State Residential Code for 55 Lander Street in Newburgh, New York. The application for said variance contains incorrect information as a continuance of the building owner's refusal to cooperate with local code officials. The subject building is a 3.5-story type 3B 2-family R3, which is proposed to become a 3-family R2 of type 1B, according to this application. The proposed alteration is undeniably level 3. Property owner purchased the property on July 5th of 2023. On August 11, 2023, the owner received a permit to replace an asphalt shingle roof and decking as required due to rot. The owner was further allowed to remove garbage and loose debris from the interior in order for a licensed engineer to view the structural members of the building and determine the scope of work. No demolition was permitted. On or about August 29, 2023, the city code enforcement officials discovered that the owner had completely reframed the wood roof with wood construction. The owner failed to submit any plans for the framing work that was performed. The owner failed to contact the city's code enforcement for any necessary inspections. City code officials discovered the demolition debris from this address in the rear yard of the property and in the adjoining property at 57 Lander Street. City code officials issued a stop work order. The property owner and the workers on site were instructed to stop construction and demolition work. On September 1, 2023, city code enforcement officials discovered the owner was continuing to conduct demolition work in contravention of the first stop work order. The city code officials issued a second additional stop work order to the property owner. On September 11th, 2023, I personally inspected the premise. I found the entire building to be completely gutted with all vertical framing removed. The basement area was demolished to the dirt and below the rear entry of the building. There was no submission of lead or asbestos testing prior to the demolition. No permits were issued for demolition. I condemned the building and demanded it be secured from entry by the owner. The New York State Department of Labor was notified due to the lack of lead and asbestos testing conducted prior to the demo. On October 10, 2023, the owner submitted a building permit application with a set of plans dated October 9, 2023, calling for a type 3B construction. Their overall cost of the project was estimated to be $50,000, according to the owner. Preliminary plan review found that the submitted plans lack sufficient information for an approval, including a plan for shoring the now unstable structure. This is the only structural plan set submitted to the city's code compliance department for review. The plan set and the sheets submitted by the owner for the subject appeal were never submitted to the code compliance department for review. Therefore, building official has not had an opportunity to review them for code sufficiency and applicability. On October 25, 2023, the owner submitted an email to the New York State Department of State Division of Building Standards and Codes. See the owner's Exhibit 5. The response from the property owner from New York State's Codes Department was, after speaking with the AHJ, they detailed that the building was issued an unsafe structure notice, currently has been demolished down to the structural components, does not currently possess a certificate of occupancy. As such, the structure is no longer a two-family dwelling. It is an uninhabitable structure with no certificate of occupancy. The project would not be considered an alteration. The project would be a change of occupancy. All provisions of Chapter 10 of the 2020 existing building code and Chapter 5 of the Energy Code would apply. As stated above, the property owner has not submitted any plans to the city's building department, codes compliance department that are relevant to the appeal issues raised herein for review since October 10, 2023. The property owner also has not submitted any plans to the city's Department of Code Compliance that reflect the information provided in the New York State Department of State Division of Building Standards and Codes on October 25, 2023. Therefore, an appeal is premature at this time. The property owner's submission is a new submission that has never been reviewed by the city. Furthermore, and even if this appeal would be allowed to proceed, the property owner received information from the New York State Department Division of Building Standards and Codes that an automatic sprinkler system is required. Again, see the property owner's Exhibit 5 as follows. As the project is change of occupancy and the work area includes all portions of the building, you must comply with the provisions of Chapter 10 of the existing building code. A three dwelling unit apartment building, occupancy type R2 apartment house, requires an automatic sprinkler system. It also is required to meet several other provisions of the building code, fire code, mechanical code, energy code, etc. Thus, and for the foregoing reasons, the property owner's appeal herein should be denied in its entirety. I'd like to address a couple of the remarks made by the applicant's architect. The argument regarding unknowns in the street and the street opening really has no validity. The three buildings on either side of this structure are sprinkled with 13R systems. Those streets have been open. We know it's there. There's no surprises. I don't know if the utilities are actually run to that building right now. The building's not safe enough to go in and look at the front wall to see what's there because it's been completely demoed. I brought some pictures of the existing conditions. I'm sorry, I only have singles on.
So we're gonna, just hold on 1 second. So
Yep.
we're gonna mark your letter. We did not get this in our package. So we're gonna mark this as Y. This is the letter memo from Chief Spinelli. The photos, how many photos are there?
There's four.
Four photos.
Two exterior, I'm sorry, two interior.
Mark the four photos, exhibit X. Okay, go ahead.
The first photo, one of the first photos that you'll see there is the wood constructed, the new wood constructed roof that was placed on the building. In looking at the plans, there were originally no plans to replace the roof. The other picture is the current condition of the interior of the building. The horizontal members are still in place, but there is not a single vertical member rising through the entire structure. If the structure is 18 feet wide, we've got a clear 18-foot span, and the entire floor structure all the way up is doing the sag towards the center. All the stairs are removed from the structure as well. I appreciate that he'd like to build a type 1B structure, but the argument that it's an economic hardship when you want to change to a type 1B construction is a little tough to swallow. The average cost, based on the interviews I've had with other builders in our city, on the high end, it costs about $225 a square foot to renovate a building, full gut rehab. That's where you've left the floors and the walls and the stairs in place. The high end is $225 a square foot. The low end is about $1.47 a square foot. There is no conceivable way that this building cost would be $50,000. So there is no economic hardship here when it comes to a sprinkler system. That's what I got.
Okay, so
Discuss
we
it.
gotta, first of all, Mark, I know that you are not privy to these exhibits, but he read his memo into the record. I'm sure you heard it, and we do have some photos, which I don't know how we can show it to you, but put them up in front of the camera, scan them, whatever. But do you have any, you said you had some questions for Chief Spinelli.
I did, but Chief Spinelli actually answered my questions as he went through his report. So thank you, Chief, for that. My questions have been answered.
All right, thank you. Jane?
I'm good.
Jane? Anything?
I guess just perhaps would a fire escape be permitted for new?
So I was just as shocked as you when I saw fire escape on the, so I got to see the plans you're seeing when they were sent to me by Neil. I was just as shocked to see any of you are. In just looking at the code, when he gave us the reference, we immediately looked it up.
Okay.
We're in the same boat as you, got to go to the book. But it does say that a fire escape's only allowable, new fire escapes only allowable, stairs are not.
Right, where there's a technically infeasible
Right.
condition because of property lines.
Right.
Is my understanding of it as well.
So without doing a plan review and without looking, fire stair would be feasible off the back of the building, but not a
Up to
fire
6
escape.
stories.
And then the other thing that it says in that section of code is that you can't use windows to access the fire escape.
It needs to be a door now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Which
true.
is something else that until 20 minutes ago, I didn't know.
The windows onto a fire escape typically has to need a curtain or to be rated as well.
Yeah.
Good. Getting back to the water
Yes, sir.
service coming into the buildings.
Yes, sir.
Can I tap off of that for the sprinkler system?
13D system, you can make the argument that you can do backflow provisions and get off of there for a 13D. For 13R, you cannot.
But I mean, does the city have anything?
Yes, it says you need a separate water tap.
Separate?
Yep.
Okay, and you said the two other structures on either side
Correct.
have a sprinkler system, separate line coming in for both.
Yes, sir.
They were just installed about 2 weeks ago for a 65 lander. Honestly.
And I don't know if this really matters, but I mean, you have a lot of lead water services in the city,
We do. We're in the process of replacing them as well.
so I would imagine.
And there's grant money to obtain that if the building's in compliance.
So I would imagine that this service there is probably lead, given the age of the building.
Best guess, yes.
So that would have to be taken care of as part of.
Yep. So we'd have to dig the street anyway.
Okay, is that it? Is there anyone else here in the audience? I need a comment. Is there anyone joining us remotely who would like to comment on this petition? Okay. David, do you have any follow-up comments or questions?
It's the last one.
You want to come up? We got to hear you. The microphone is with you.
We said that the domestic line has to be replaced.
It may, yeah, if it's a lead line.
The others were replaced,
I don't know if they were, but I know for a fact they had the sprinkler systems installed.
but we don't know if the domestic lines were replaced.
No.
Because there's a lot of projects in the city that, just are sitting there to not progressing. And there seems to be hindrances to get that, going. Is the replacing of the water because of a lead constitution one of them? Because the pipes are lead?
I don't.
Is that a hindrance for the other projects to continue?
No, it usually isn't, no.
Then what?
And then there's also a lead line replacement program So if the applicant has a building that's in compliance, they can apply for monies to dig the street and replace the lead line.
What
Again,
is-
I don't know if there's a lead line coming into this building or not.
This we're not sure.
No.
Okay.
All right, so, not hearing anything else, we're going to, go with operations. Maggie, we're gonna go off the record. Okay, we're back on. Maggie, do you have a motion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the petition of Israel Ostreicher, petition number 2024-0074, the petition pertains to a variance to allow a change of occupancy of a dwelling from a one-family to a three-family dwelling occupancy group R2 residential construction type 1B, 4 stories in height including basement, 1,973 square feet in area located at 55 Lander Street, City of Newburgh, County of Orange, New York State. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the Building Code of New York State, Section 903.2.8, Group R, which states an automatic sprinkler system installed in accordance with Section 903.3 shall be provided throughout all buildings with a Group R fire area. The petitioner is seeking relief to allow construction without an automatic sprinkler system. The board makes the following findings. 1, it was determined that the complete renovation of a row house was a change of occupancy requiring an automatic sprinkler system. 2, applicant requests relief to allow construction to proceed without an automatic sprinkler system and submitted an estimate demonstrating financial hardship and proposes providing alternatives. 3, applicant proposes as alternatives that the construction type has been raised from 3B to 1B, the use of fire-rated windows, non-required fire-rated interior partitions, emergency escape and rescue openings at all windows, separate exits for each unit, and a minimum travel distance to the exits. 4, the local code official has been contacted in this matter and does object the granting of a variance under Part 1205. In accordance with the above findings, insufficient evidence has been provided to warrant a variance, and the granting of a variance would substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, or security. Therefore, I move that the variance request be denied. The decision is limited to the specific building and application before it is contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Megan. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Jane Slavin seconds it. Before we individually vote, David, do you understand the motion?
Yes.
Do you have any questions? No. Okay, so we'll vote. Shaheen?
Aye.
I'm sorry, a vote of aye is a vote to deny the variance. Shaheen votes aye. Megan?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
Mark Kavanaugh?
Aye.
I also vote aye. So 5-0. Petition has been, the application for the variance has been denied. Okay, all right, Maggie, we're gonna just stay on the record for a minute or two here. We just have some organizational issue that we have to get on the record.
Okay, Your Honor.
Have a good day. Okay, so-
Thank you.
So, Your Honor, you want to remain on the record, correct?
I'm sorry?
You want to remain on the record or go off the record?
No, we want to remain on. We just have one organizational issue that we have to attend to.
Okay, great.
So what it is that we're required by the code to have an organizational meeting once a year. We usually do it first meeting of the calendar year. Purpose, one of the things we're supposed to do is elect a new chairman. So I am going to open it up to the board for somebody to make a motion for a new chairman or whatever. Who their pick with the chairman would be.
I make a motion that Marco Generelli remain our chairman for this.
Second.
That was the motion was by Megan, seconded by Dean. Mark, you don't vote on this, I'm sorry. If you're not a member of our board, but we do appreciate you being.
It's not a problem. Do you have to stay on the call or are you all set with me then?
Yeah, you can leave if you want to. Thanks again for helping us.
Thank you.
All right, see you all. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
And so we got a vote. I don't know if I can vote, but I guess, so, aye, Shaheen,
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
I guess I vote aye also. Okay, so that's it, right?
Easy peasy.
So we are off the record.
Record, Your Honor.